3 years of invisibility ended. The second Adrian Moretti's eyes locked onto hers across that ballroom. Serena Vale, once a rising star in international development, now reduced to fetching coffee for people who wouldn't remember her name, stood frozen as the most dangerous man in the city raised his champagne glass in her direction. The room noticed. The whispers started. And Vivian Pierce, the woman who'd spent years treating Serena like disposable furniture, looked ready to explode. What nobody knew, Serena had destroyed Adrian's empire once before. Tonight, he'd invited her personally, and she had no idea if this was resurrection or revenge. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The champagne tasted like regret. Serena stood just inside the entrance of the museum ballroom, gripping a glass she hadn't asked for, watching the kind of people who never had to ask for anything. They moved through the Blackstone Foundation gala like sharks in tailored suits, smooth, hungry, utterly certain of their place in the food chain. She didn't belong here. Everyone knew it. She knew it. The invitation had arrived 3 days ago at Harrow and Pierce, hand-delivered in cream-colored cardstock, so thick it felt obscene. Her name, Serena Vale, written in actual calligraphy. Personal invitation from Adrian Moretti himself. The senior partners had gathered around her desk like vultures circling roadkill, demanding to know how a glorified assistant warranted an invitation to the social event of the season. She'd told them she had no idea. That was true. She'd also told them she wouldn't attend. That was a lie. Now here she stood, wearing a black gown her sister Lena had altered 3 times in their cramped apartment, surrounded by people who treated charity galas like competitive sport. Old money, new money, blood money dressed up in tax-deductible donations. Jesus, Serena, you actually came. The voice cut through the classical music like a knife through silk. Vivian Pierce materialized beside her, champagne in one hand, judgment in her eyes. She wore red, always red, a color that demanded attention the way Vivian demanded everything else. I was invited, Serena said quietly. So were 300 other people. Vivian's smile was sharp enough to draw blood. Most of them matter. 3 years. 3 years of this. 3 years of being talked to like she was furniture that occasionally made mistakes. Serena felt the familiar tightness in her chest, that old reflex to make herself smaller, quieter, less. She took a sip of champagne instead of responding. Vivian's eyes narrowed. You know what everyone's saying, right? That you crashed, that you forged the invitation somehow. Did you start that rumor, or just enjoy spreading it? The words came out before Serena could stop them. Vivian's face went rigid. Careful, Vivian said softly. You're already on thin ice at the firm. Don't make it worse. Worse than fetching your dry cleaning? Worse than organizing files for cases I'm more qualified to argue than half your associates? You think you're qualified? Vivian laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Serena, you're a cautionary tale. A burnout who couldn't handle the real world and settled for, there you are. The new voice was male, deep. It cut through their conversation with the kind of authority that didn't need to be loud. Both women turned. Adrian Moretti stood 3 feet away, and Serena forgot how to breathe. She'd seen photos. Everyone had seen photos. But pictures didn't capture the reality of him, the way he occupied space like he owned the molecular structure of the air around him. 6'2", maybe 6'3". Dark suit that probably cost more than her annual salary, gray threading through black hair at the temples, eyes the color of smoke before a fire. He was looking directly at Serena. Mr. Moretti, Vivian said, recovering faster, extending her hand. Vivian Pierce, my father is... I know who your father is. Adrian didn't look at her, didn't take her hand. His gaze stayed locked on Serena with an intensity that made her skin prickle. Ms. Vale, thank you for coming. The ballroom had gone quiet, not silent. The quartet still played, conversation still murmured, but there was a shift in attention, people watching without watching, listening without appearing to listen. Serena's mouth had gone dry. Mr. Moretti. Adrian. He moved closer. Up close she could see the details, the scar through his left eyebrow, the calluses on his hands that didn't match the expensive suit. A man who'd climbed from somewhere rough and never quite scrubbed it all off. I wasn't sure you'd accept the invitation. I wasn't sure I should. Something flickered across his face. Amusement, maybe. Or respect. Honest. I appreciate that. Vivian made a sound, half cough, half protest. I should let you to... Yes, Adrian said. You should. It wasn't polite. Wasn't even particularly rude, just dismissal, clean and absolute. Vivian's face went through several shades of red before she turned and stalked away, heels clicking against marble like gunshots. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Adrian gestured toward the far end of the ballroom. Walk with me. It wasn't a question. Men like Adrian Moretti didn't ask questions. They issued invitations that felt like commands. Serena had spent 3 years learning to recognize power, learning to navigate around it, learning to survive it. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse. She fell into step beside him instead. They moved through the crowd, and Serena watched the room part for Adrian like water around a stone. People nodded, smiled, got out of the way. A city councilman interrupted his own conversation to shake Adrian's hand. A tech billionaire raised his glass in acknowledgement. Adrian responded to each with the bare minimum of social grace, never slowing, never stopping. You're wondering why I invited you, he said, among other questions, like whether I'm going to have you killed. Serena's step faltered. Adrian kept walking. She caught up, pulse racing. That's not funny, she managed. Wasn't meant to be. He glanced at her, expression unreadable. You destroyed part of my company 3 years ago. Exposed fraud, cost me millions, sent my cousin to federal prison. He paused. Some people would consider that grounds for retaliation. The champagne glass trembled in Serena's hand. This was it. The moment she'd been half expecting since the invitation arrived. She'd known, of course she'd known, that Adrian Moretti would eventually connect the dots, that the anonymous compliance report she'd filed would eventually trace back to her. She'd just hoped she'd have more time. I reported financial corruption, she said, voice steadier than she felt. If that destroyed part of your company, maybe you should examine what you built. Adrian stopped walking, turned to face her fully. Around them the gala continued, music, laughter, the clink of expensive crystal, but it felt like they were standing in a pocket of silence. You're right, he said. Serena blinked. What? You're right. The corruption was extensive. My cousin had been running fake development projects for years, siphoning money through shell organizations, billing for programs that never existed. By the time I discovered the fraud, he'd stolen close to $40 million. I know. I found the discrepancies in the... I know what you found. Adrian's voice dropped lower. I also know what happened to you after you reported it. The floor felt unsteady beneath Serena's feet. How? I spent 2 years tracking down the source of the original complaint. My cousin had intercepted it, buried it, made sure it never reached anyone who mattered. By the time the FBI brought me the evidence, you'd already been quietly fired from your position at the International Development Council. Blacklisted. Your reputation destroyed by carefully placed whispers about incompetence and instability. Every word felt like a punch. Serena had lived through it. The sudden termination, the job applications that went nowhere, the references that never materialized, the slow realization that her career had been surgically removed while everyone smiled and wished her well. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Because you were collateral damage in a war you didn't start. My cousin destroyed your life to protect his fraud, and Adrian's jaw tightened. I didn't know. By the time I found out, you disappeared into the legal industry as an assistant, vanished. I didn't vanish. I survived. You did more than survive. He gestured around the ballroom. Look at who's here tonight. Really look. Serena followed his gaze, and slowly recognition crept in. The woman near the bar was Dr. Patricia Chen, director of the World Education Initiative. The man by the sculptures was Ambassador Cordova from the Organization of American States. That group near the windows included 2 UN development consultants she'd worked with in Ecuador. I don't understand, Serena said. This gala isn't random. Every person here was selected, invited specifically. Adrian's eyes held hers. Half the room remembers your work in South America, the education programs you designed, the communities you transformed. I made sure they'd be here tonight. Made sure they'd see you. The realization hit like cold water. You orchestrated this. I did. Why? Because I owe you a debt. My company destroyed your career for doing the right thing. Money can't fix that. Apologies mean nothing, but putting you in front of the people who remember your brilliance? Adrian's expression shifted, something almost human breaking through the armor. That might actually matter. Serena's throat tightened. 3 years. 3 years of being invisible, being dismissed, being treated like she'd never accomplished anything worth remembering. And now this man, this dangerous, complicated man, had built an entire event around making people see her again. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Adrian's voice gentled slightly. You're angry, confused, probably terrified. That's fair. But do me one favor tonight. What? Stop hiding. Talk to these people. Remind them who you are. Let them remember what you're capable of. He paused. What happens after that is entirely up to you. Before Serena could respond, a hand touched her elbow. Serena Vale? My God, it really is you. Dr. Chen stood there, genuine delight on her face. I thought I was seeing things. How long has it been? 5 years? 6, Serena managed, since the Lima conference. The work you did with rural education access, we still cite your research. I've been telling people for years you were the most innovative thinker in the field. Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. What happened to you? You disappeared. Serena felt Adrian's presence beside her, solid and silent. Felt the weight of 3 years of humiliation pressing against her chest. Felt the old instinct to minimize, to deflect, to make herself smaller. She took a breath. I lost my position. After filing a corruption report that certain people didn't want investigated. Dr. Chen's expression shifted from confusion to fury. You were the whistleblower on the Moretti Foundation fraud case? Yes? And they destroyed your career for it? Yes. Dr. Chen looked at Adrian, then back to Serena. Understanding dawned. You didn't know, did you? When you filed the report? I knew it would be unpopular. I didn't know it would be career suicide. Jesus Christ. Dr. Chen shook her head. Serena, we need to talk. Properly. The initiative is expanding operations in Central America, and we desperately need someone with your expertise. Can we meet next week? The words didn't feel real. Serena nodded numbly. Good. I'll have my assistant contact you. Dr. Chen squeezed her arm. I'm so glad you're back. She disappeared into the crowd, leaving Serena standing beside Adrian, trembling. That's the first of many, Adrian said quietly. If you want it. What do you want? The question came out sharper than intended. Really? What do you get out of this? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Around them the gala swirled on, conversations, connections, the machinery of power and influence grinding forward. Peace of mind, he finally said, knowing I fixed something my company broke. That's not all. His mouth curved slightly. No, that's not all. Then what? Adrian met her eyes. I'm attracted to you. Have been since I read your original report. The way you documented everything. The courage it took to file it, knowing the risks. And tonight, watching you walk in here wearing that anger like armor. He paused. I wanted to meet the woman who tried to destroy me and did it better than anyone else ever has. The honesty was more terrifying than any threat. I'm not interested in being another conquest for a powerful man, Serena said. Good. I'm not interested in conquests. Adrian's voice stayed level. I'm interested in equals, and you're the first person I've met in years who actually qualifies. You don't know me. I know you filed a corruption report that could have gotten you killed. I know you survived 3 years of professional exile without breaking. I know you walked into this room tonight knowing I might destroy you, and you did it anyway. His eyes held hers. I know enough. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to run, wanted to do anything except stand here feeling the pull of something dangerous and magnetic and completely insane. Ms. Vale? Ambassador Cordova appeared beside them, warm smile, extended hand. I heard you were here. We absolutely must discuss the education initiative in Guatemala. Your work in similar contexts has been groundbreaking. The next 2 hours blurred together. Conversations. Introductions. Business cards pressed into her hand. Invitations to meetings, consultations, speaking engagements. People remembered her, not the broken assistant from Harrow and Pierce, not the cautionary tale. The actual Serena Vale, the woman who'd designed sustainable education programs across South America, who'd written papers that changed policy, who'd been brilliant before everything fell apart. Adrian stayed nearby but never crowded her. He'd nod to someone across the room, make a brief introduction, then fade back, opening doors without pushing her through them. Vivian Pierce watched from the bar, face tight with barely controlled rage. Around midnight, Serena found herself on the museum balcony, lungs burning from too much talking, head spinning from too much champagne and possibility. Adrian joined her silently, leaning against the railing. "Overwhelming?" he asked.
Terrifying.
"Good." Serena glanced at him. "Good?" If it wasn't terrifying, it wouldn't matter. Adrian stared out at the city lights. "Fear means you're facing something real. I don't know if I can trust this. Any of this." "You shouldn't. Not yet." His honesty kept catching her off guard. Powerful men didn't admit uncertainty. They didn't acknowledge fear. They certainly didn't encourage skepticism. "What happens now?" Serena asked. "That depends entirely on you. Those conversations tonight were real. Those opportunities are real. What you do with them is your choice." Adrian turned to face her. "I won't interfere, won't try to control it. This is yours. And us?" "There is no us. Not yet." He held her gaze. "But there could be. If you want it. If you trust it. If you decide I'm worth the risk." Serena's heart hammered. "You're very confident. I'm very honest. There's a difference." A crash echoed from inside the ballroom. Raised voices. Security moving quickly toward the entrance. Adrian's expression shifted instantly, from open to locked down, from man to weapon. "Stay here." "What's happening?" "I don't know, but until I do, you stay on this balcony." He disappeared inside before Serena could argue. Through the glass doors, she watched chaos unfold. Security surrounding someone. Guests backing away. Adrian moving through the crowd with lethal precision, phone already at his ear. Then she saw who was at the center of the disturbance. A man in an ill-fitting suit being restrained by two security guards, shouting something Serena couldn't hear, struggling, wild-eyed and desperate. Adrian reached them, said something sharp. The security guards hesitated, then released the man. The stranger lunged at Adrian, Serena's breath caught, but Adrian didn't move, just stood there, arms loose at his sides, letting the man shove him backward. "You destroyed my life!" The shout carried clearly now. "You ruined everything!" Adrian said something too quiet to hear. The man's face crumpled. He swung at Adrian, clumsy, desperate. Adrian caught his wrist, held it, leaned in close, and spoke directly into the man's ear. Whatever he said broke something. The stranger collapsed, shoulders shaking with sobs. Adrian lowered him gently to the floor, sat beside him, kept talking, voice low and steady, while security and guests stared. Serena watched through the glass, heart pounding. She recognized the stranger now. Marcus Webb, former CFO of one of Adrian's subsidiaries. She'd seen his name in the corruption files, not a perpetrator, but a witness who'd refused to testify, who'd lost his job anyway, who'd been destroyed by proximity to fraud he hadn't committed. Adrian stayed with him, talking, listening. Eventually, he helped the man to his feet, kept one hand on his shoulder, and walked him toward a private exit away from the cameras. The gala slowly resumed its rhythm. Guests returned to conversations. The quartet started playing again. The machinery of wealth and power grinding forward like nothing had happened. Adrian returned 20 minutes later, tie loosened, expression exhausted. He found Serena still on the balcony. "Who was that?" she asked. "Someone I failed." Adrian's voice was flat. "Someone who got caught in the same machinery that destroyed your career." "What did you say to him?" "The truth. That I was sorry. That I'd make it right." He paused. That anger was better than despair. Serena studied his face, the exhaustion there, the weight. "Did you make it right?" "I'm trying. Set him up with one of my competitors, good position, better salary than before. He won't take my money directly, too proud, but he'll take the job." "Why?" "Because I owe him more than an apology." They stood in silence for a long moment. Below them, the city stretched out in all directions, lights and darkness, wealth and poverty, power and powerlessness existing side by side. "I need to leave," Serena said finally. Adrian nodded. "I'll have my driver." "No, I'll catch a cab." "Serena, I need space. Time to think. This whole night," she gestured helplessly. "It's too much." "I understand." Adrian pulled a card from his pocket, plain white, just a phone number. "When you're ready to talk, or not talk, whatever you need." Serena took the card. Their fingers brushed. The contact sent electricity up her arm. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For tonight. For all of it. Even if I don't understand it yet. You don't need to thank me. You earned everything that happened in there." Adrian's expression softened slightly. "I just made sure the right people were watching." Serena turned to leave, then stopped. "That man, Marcus Webb, he said you destroyed his life." "I did. By not paying attention, by trusting the wrong people, by building an empire too fast to notice the corruption inside it." Adrian's voice went hard. "I've spent 3 years trying to fix those mistakes. Some can't be fixed. Some can. You're one of the ones I can fix. I'm not broken. No, you're not. But your career was, your reputation was. That I can fix." Serena wanted to argue, wanted to tell him she didn't need fixing, didn't need saving, didn't need a dangerous man with gray eyes and too much power deciding her future. Instead, she walked away. The cab ride home took 40 minutes through late-night traffic. Serena sat in the back seat, mind racing, phone buzzing constantly, with messages from people at the gala. "Dr. Chen, let's meet Tuesday. I'm serious about that position." "Ambassador Cordova, your insights on sustainable development are exactly what we need. Call me." 3 consulting firms, 2 nonprofit directors, a university dean asking about guest lectures. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "This is Vivian Pierce. We need to talk about what happened tonight. Call me first thing Monday morning." Serena deleted the message. Her apartment was dark when she arrived. Lena had left the lights off but left a note on the kitchen counter. "How did it go?" "I want details, all of them. Wake me up if you need to." Serena didn't wake her. Instead, she stood in the bathroom, staring at her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at her didn't look invisible. She looked dangerous. Her phone buzzed one more time, Adrian's number. "Made it home safe?" Despite everything, Serena smiled. "Yes. Good. Sleep well, Serena Vale." She didn't sleep well. She barely slept at all. Because something had shifted tonight. Some fundamental understanding of who she was and who she could be. For 3 years she'd survived, made herself small, accepted invisibility as the price of stability. One night had shattered that completely. And the most terrifying part wasn't Adrian Moretti or his dangerous attention or the way he'd orchestrated an entire gala around resurrecting her career. The most terrifying part was the realization that she wanted more. Wanted her old life back. Wanted recognition. Wanted power. Wanted to stop being the woman people overlooked and become the woman people remembered. Wanted Adrian, even though everything rational screamed that wanting him was insane. At 3 a.m, Serena sat at her tiny kitchen table and made a list. Everyone who'd offered her opportunities tonight. Every conversation. Every possibility. Then she made a second list. Every reason trusting Adrian Moretti was dangerous. Every way this could explode. Every potential consequence of accepting help from a man who'd admitted he was attracted to her. The lists were equally long. By the time dawn broke over the city, Serena had made her decision. She was going to do exactly what Adrian had suggested. Stop hiding, remind the world who she was, reclaim everything she'd lost. And if that meant navigating the dangerous waters around a man who looked at her like she was the most interesting thing he'd ever found. Well, she'd navigated worse. Monday morning, Serena walked into Harrow and Pierce wearing the same black dress from the gala, carrying a manila folder, and knocked on senior partner Harrison Pierce's door. "Come in." She entered, set the folder on his desk, looked him directly in the eye. "I'm resigning. Effective immediately. That folder contains documentation of every file I've organized, every case I've supported, and every piece of institutional knowledge you'll lose when I walk out of here. You have 2 hours to find my replacement. Harrison's face went red. You can't. I can. I am. And Mr. Pierce? Serena leaned forward slightly. The next time you hire someone with my qualifications and waste 3 years of their life on coffee runs and filing, remember what happened when I finally stopped letting you. She turned and walked out, ignoring the stunned silence behind her. Vivian stood in the hallway, face white with shock. You'll regret this, Vivian hissed. Serena smiled. No, I really won't. She cleaned out her desk in 15 minutes, left her security badge on the reception desk, walked out into the morning sunlight feeling lighter than she had in 3 years. Her phone rang before she'd made it to the subway. Adrian's number. I hear you quit. News travels fast. In certain circles. A pause. How does it feel? Serena stopped walking, closed her eyes, let herself actually feel it. Terrifying. Good. She laughed despite herself. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. Adrian's voice shifted, became more serious. I meant what I said. What happens next is entirely your choice. But Serena? Yes? Whatever you choose, make sure it's what you actually want. Not what's safe, not what's expected. What you want. The line went dead. Serena stood on the sidewalk, morning commuters flowing around her like water around a stone, and realized something fundamental had changed. For 3 years, survival had been enough. It wasn't enough anymore. Her phone buzzed with an email. Dr. Chen. Subject line, Tuesday meeting location. Then another. Ambassador Cordova. Confirming our call Thursday. Then another. And another. The world was opening back up. Opportunities flooding in, the career she'd lost suddenly visible again. All because Adrian Moretti had decided she deserved a second chance. All because he'd looked at her and seen something worth resurrecting. The question now was simple. What was she going to do about it? And more importantly, what was she going to do about him? The first week of freedom tasted like adrenaline and insomnia. Serena met Dr. Chen on Tuesday at a coffee shop in Midtown, expecting a polite conversation about possibilities. Instead, she walked out with a consulting contract worth more than she'd made in 2 years at Harrow and Pierce. 6 months. Renewable. Central America education reform. Real budget. Real authority. We need someone who understands the political complications, Dr. Chen had said, sliding the contract across the table. Someone who won't fold when governments push back. You proved you don't fold. Serena had signed it right there, hand shaking so badly her signature looked drunk. Thursday's call with Ambassador Cordova lasted 3 hours. He wanted her expertise on a multi-country literacy initiative. Needed someone to design the framework, coordinate with local NGOs, navigate the bureaucratic nightmares that killed most international programs before they started. I remember your work in Ecuador, he'd said. The way you got the Minister of Education and the indigenous community leaders in the same room. That's not strategy. That's magic. It's not magic. It's listening. Same thing, when done right. By Friday, Serena had 4 active consulting agreements, 2 speaking invitations, and a university asking her to design a semester-long course on sustainable development. Her calendar looked like someone else's life. Her bank account still looked like hers, empty enough that the consulting advance felt like oxygen after drowning. Saturday morning, she sat in the apartment she shared with Lena, staring at her laptop, trying to process the whiplash of the past 6 days. Lena emerged from her bedroom, paint-stained t-shirt, coffee in hand. 23 years old and already building a reputation as a textile artist, though the reputation didn't pay rent yet. Serena had been covering expenses for both of them since Lena dropped out of art school to actually make art. You look like you're about to throw up, Lena observed, dropping onto the couch beside her. I might. Good throw up or bad throw up? Serena laughed despite herself. I don't know yet. Lena peered at the laptop screen, reading the email from the World Education Initiative. Holy shit, that's real? Apparently. And the university thing? Also real. And all of this happened because of that gala? Lena's eyes narrowed. Because of Adrian Moretti? There it was. The question Serena had been avoiding for 6 days. He created the opportunity. I'm the one doing the work. That's not an answer. Serena closed the laptop. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me if this guy is dangerous. I want you to tell me if you're safe. I want... Lena stopped, frustration cracking through. Serena, you've been destroyed before, by powerful people, by men who thought they could use you and throw you away. I watched you nearly break. I'm not watching it again. This is different. How? Serena didn't have a good answer. Couldn't explain the gut feeling that Adrian was telling the truth. Couldn't articulate why a man who admitted attraction felt safer than men who'd pretended indifference. Couldn't make sense of any of it. I don't know, she finally said. But I'm being careful. Are you? Lena's voice went quiet. Because from where I'm sitting, you just quit your job, signed 4 contracts in 1 week, and upended your entire life based on one conversation with a man known for controlling half the real estate in this city. I upended my life based on my own decisions. Decisions he made possible. Yes, Serena met her sister's eyes. And maybe that's manipulation. Maybe it's a trap. Maybe 6 months from now, I'll realize I made a terrible mistake. But Lena, I spent 3 years making myself invisible. 3 years accepting scraps. I won't do it anymore, even if it means taking risks. Lena was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached over and squeezed Serena's hand. Okay, but if this guy hurts you, I'm burning down every building he owns. Deal. Serena's phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Lunch today? Adrian. She stared at the message, pulse quickening. Lena read over her shoulder. You gonna go? I don't know. Liar. You've already decided. Serena deleted the text without responding. The phone buzzed again 5 minutes later. That wasn't a no. I'll take my chances. Meet me at Russo's, 1 p.m. If you don't show, I'll understand. Jesus, Lena muttered. Persistent. It's just lunch. Nothing with that man is just anything. Lena was right. Serena knew it. But she went anyway. Russo's occupied a corner building in the financial district, the kind of restaurant where reservations required 3 weeks' notice and maitre d's could end political careers with strategic seating arrangements. Serena arrived 10 minutes late deliberately, wearing jeans and a blazer, professional enough to not embarrass herself, casual enough to make a point. Adrian sat at a corner table facing the door. He noticed her the second she entered, stood immediately. The gesture felt old-fashioned, almost anachronistic coming from a man who looked like he could buy the building they were standing in. You came, he said. I'm still deciding if that was smart. A smile flickered across his face. Fair. The maitre d' pulled out her chair. Serena sat, hyper-aware of the other diners watching without watching, recognizing Adrian, speculating about her. The attention felt like insects crawling across her skin. Relax, Adrian said quietly. They'll lose interest in 30 seconds. Easy for you to say. You're used to it. I hate it, but I'm used to it. There's a difference. A waiter appeared, poured water, recited specials. Adrian ordered for both of them without asking what she wanted. Grilled fish, seasonal vegetables, nothing complicated. The presumption should have irritated her. Instead, it felt like he'd read the anxiety in her posture and removed one decision she didn't want to make. How's the first week? Adrian asked once they were alone. Overwhelming, terrifying, exhausting. Serena took a sip of water. Why did you really invite me here? I wanted to see how you were handling it. Make sure you're okay. You could have texted. I could have, but I wanted to see your face when you told me. Direct. Always direct. It kept catching her off guard. I'm handling it, Serena said. Barely. But I am. Adrian leaned back slightly, studying her. You don't trust this. Any of it. Should I? Probably not. People like me usually have ulterior motives. And you don't. I have motives. I wouldn't call them ulterior. Serena's jaw tightened. That's not reassuring. It's honest. Adrian's expression didn't change. I told you at the gala. I'm attracted to you. That hasn't changed, but I also meant what I said about fixing what my company broke. Those two things exist simultaneously. I'm not going to pretend the attraction doesn't exist just to make you more comfortable. The bluntness was like cold water. Most men danced around attraction, hid it behind professionalism, weaponized it through plausible deniability. Adrian just stated it like a fact. What do you want from me? Serena asked. Right now, nothing. Long term? He paused. I want to see if the woman who tried to destroy my company is as brilliant in person as she was on paper. And if I'm not, you are. I've seen enough to know. The food arrived. They ate in silence for several minutes. Serena's mind raced, trying to parse through layers of meaning, looking for the trap she knew had to be there. You're thinking too hard, Adrian observed. Someone has to. Why? Because you're dangerous. This whole situation is dangerous. And I've already been destroyed once by underestimating powerful men. Adrian set down his fork. Tell me about it. About what? What happened? Before, when you lost everything. Serena's chest tightened. You already know what happened. I know the facts. I don't know what it felt like. Why does that matter? Because I need to understand what I'm asking you to risk by trusting me. The honesty kept disarming her. Serena wanted to refuse, to keep that pain private, but something about the way Adrian waited, patient, focused, genuinely listening, cracked through her defenses. It felt like drowning, she said quietly. Slowly. I filed the report on a Thursday. By Monday, I was being reassigned to administrative tasks. By the end of the month, I was fired for performance issues that materialized overnight. References disappeared. Job applications went nowhere. Nobody would say why. They just stopped returning calls. How long before you figured out what happened? 6 months. Long enough to burn through my savings. Long enough to start believing maybe I really had been incompetent. Long enough to wonder if I'd imagined being good at my job. Serena's hands clenched around her water glass. That's the part that broke me. Not losing the career. Losing the certainty that I deserved it in the first place. Adrian's expression had gone completely still. And then? Then I survived. Took a job at Harrow and Pierce because it was the only offer I got. Spent 3 years being invisible. Being safe. She met his eyes. Being smaller than I actually am. You're not small. I made myself small. There's a difference. They sat in silence. Around them, the restaurant hummed with quiet conversations and clinking silverware. Normal people living normal lives, unaware they were sitting 20 feet from someone whose company had once stolen millions. I can't undo what happened to you, Adrian said finally. I can open doors, create opportunities, put you in front of people who matter, but I can't give you back those 3 years. I know. Does that make you hate me? The question surprised her. Should it? My company destroyed your life. My cousin did it directly. I did it through negligence, through building something too big to control properly. Adrian's voice had gone rough. I've spent 3 years trying to fix the damage. Most of it can't be fixed. But you... He stopped. You're fixable. Your career is fixable. That's why I'm trying. And the attraction? Complicates things, but doesn't change them. Serena wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that a powerful man could actually separate professional restitution from personal desire. Her entire history screamed it was impossible. I need boundaries, she said. Name them. Don't interfere with my work. Don't pull strings I don't ask you to pull. Don't make my success about you. Done. I'm not finished. If you pursue me romantically, it happens separately from everything else. My career doesn't become leverage. My professional relationships don't become collateral damage. Adrian nodded slowly. Agreed. Anything else? If I ever feel controlled, manipulated, or diminished, I walk away. Permanently. And you don't follow. Understood. Serena searched his face for signs of irritation, for the anger powerful men usually showed when boundaries got established. Found nothing but focus. You're serious, she said, completely. Why? Because I've spent my entire adult life controlling things. People, situations, outcomes. Adrian's jaw tightened. It's exhausting. And it's lonely. And the one time I stopped paying attention, actually trusted someone to handle things without my oversight, my cousin stole $40 million and destroyed innocent people in the process. So this is penance. This is learning. He leaned forward slightly. You remind me that integrity matters more than control. That's rare. That's valuable. I'm not going to destroy it by being the kind of man you're afraid I am. Serena's phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. You should check that, Adrian said. She pulled out her phone. 7 missed calls, 4 from Dr. Chen, 3 from Ambassador Cordova. Text from Dr. Chen. Urgent, call me immediately. Serena's stomach dropped. Something's wrong. She dialed Dr. Chen, hand already shaking. The call connected on the first ring. Serena, thank God, have you seen the news? What news? The Tribune just published an expose on Adrian Moretti's foundation, financial fraud, ongoing investigations, and your name is all over it. The restaurant tilted. Serena gripped the edge of the table. What? The article identifies you as the original whistleblower. Says you lost your career for exposing corruption 3 years ago. Says Moretti personally recruited you back into his orbit at the gala last week. Dr. Chen's voice was tight. Serena, this looks really bad. Across the table, Adrian had gone completely still, watching her, reading the panic in her face. I need to call you back, Serena managed. She hung up, opened her browser, found the Tribune article in seconds. Moretti Foundation under renewed scrutiny. Whistleblower returns to inner circle. The article was brutal, detailed, accurate in all the worst ways. It named Serena as the source of the original 2023 corruption complaint, described how she'd been fired and blacklisted, mentioned the gala, the consulting contracts she'd signed this week, Adrian's personal interest in her career resurrection. The implication was clear. Serena Vale was either compromised, complicit, or catastrophically naive. When did this publish? She whispered. Adrian checked his own phone. 30 minutes ago. Serena, did you know? What? Did you know they were writing this? Her voice cracked. Did you know this was coming? No. Don't lie to me. I'm not lying. Adrian's voice stayed level, but something dangerous flickered in his eyes. I had no idea. Someone leaked this. Someone who knew about the gala, about your contracts, about... He stopped. Someone close. Serena's phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. Ms. Vale, this is Detective Marcus Reeves with the Financial Crimes Division. We need to speak with you regarding the Moretti Foundation investigation. Can you come to the precinct this afternoon? The world narrowed to a pinpoint. Yes. What time? 3 o'clock. Come alone, please. The line went dead. Serena looked at Adrian. The police want to question me. Don't go. I have to. No, you don't. I'll have my lawyers. No. Serena stood abruptly, chair scraping against floor. Every eye in the restaurant turned toward them. No lawyers, no interference. I go alone. I tell the truth. Serena, you don't understand how this works. They'll twist everything you say, use it against both of us. You need representation. What I need is to not look guilty. Her hands were shaking badly now. What I need is to not be another pawn in your world. Adrian stood too. That's not what this is. Isn't it? 1 week ago, you orchestrated an entire gala to resurrect my career. Now I'm being investigated for possibly being complicit in the exact fraud I originally exposed. That's convenient timing, Adrian. You think I leaked this? I think someone did, and everyone around you seems to end up damaged. The words hit like a slap. Adrian's expression went completely blank. If that's what you believe, he said quietly, then we have nothing else to discuss. He dropped cash on the table, too much, always too much, and walked out. Serena stood there shaking, watching him disappear through the restaurant doors, feeling like she'd just made either the best or worst decision of her life. Her phone buzzed, text from Lena. Come home, now. The apartment was chaos when Serena arrived. Lena on the phone, pacing, voice sharp with fury. She hung up the second Serena walked in. Did you see it? Lena demanded. The article? Yes. Not just the article, the follow-ups, Twitter, Reddit. Every gossip site in the city is running with this. Lena shoved her laptop toward Serena. Headlines scrolled past, each one worse than the last. Whistleblower or willing accomplice? Moretti's latest conquest, from victim to collaborator. The woman who destroyed and rebuilt a billion-dollar empire. Someone had dug up her old LinkedIn profile, her academic papers, photos from development projects she'd led years ago. Every piece of her past weaponized into proof of either brilliance or corruption depending on the angle. Comment sections exploded with speculation. Half called her a hero, half called her a fool, some called her worse. Serena sank onto the couch, nausea rolling through her. Who did this? Lena asked. I don't know. The article cites sources close to the investigation. Someone talked. Someone who knew details about your original complaint, about the gala, about the contracts you just signed. Serena's mind raced through possibilities. The police had the original complaint. Adrian's company had internal records. The nonprofits she'd just started working with had her contract details. Or Vivian Pierce, who'd watched her leave the firm, who'd been at the gala, who had every reason to want revenge. I need to make calls, Serena said. She spent the next hour trying to contain the damage. Called Dr. Chen back, explained she had no knowledge of renewed investigations, assured her the consulting work was completely separate from Adrian's foundation. I believe you, Dr. Chen said carefully. But Serena, optics matter. If this investigation escalates, the initiative can't be associated with it. You understand? Are you firing me? A long pause. I'm asking you to consider voluntarily suspending the contract until this resolves. That's firing me. That's protecting both of us. The call ended. Serena immediately dialed Ambassador Cordova, got his assistant, left a message that went unreturned. By 2 o'clock, 3 of her 4 consulting contracts were under review pending clarification of legal circumstances. The university had withdrawn their course offer entirely. Everything she'd rebuilt in 1 week was collapsing in real time. At 2:30, Serena took the subway to the Financial Crimes Division precinct in Lower Manhattan. The building was concrete and glass, aggressively institutional. She checked in at reception, was escorted to a third-floor interview room, sat in a plastic chair across from Detective Reeves, 50-something, weathered, eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything. Thank you for coming, he said, setting a recorder on the table. This is just a preliminary conversation. You're not under arrest. You can leave at any time. But I need to ask you some questions about your relationship with Adrian Moretti. Serena's mouth had gone dry. I already gave a statement 3 years ago about the corruption I found. I've read it. Thorough work. You documented everything. Reeves opened a file. What I'm trying to understand is what happened after. You were fired, blacklisted, ended up working as a legal assistant. Then last week, Adrian Moretti personally invites you to his foundation's biggest event of the year. Why? He said it was an apology for what his company did to me. Apology, interesting choice of words. Reeves leaned back. See, from where I'm sitting, it looks like reconciliation. Like maybe you and Moretti reached some kind of understanding. What kind of understanding? The kind where you don't cooperate with renewed investigations. The kind where you accept lucrative consulting contracts in exchange for silence. Anger spiked through Serena's fear. That's not what happened. Then tell me what did happen. So she did. Everything. The invitation, the gala, Adrian's explanation about his cousin intercepting her original report, the networking opportunities, the contract she'd signed based on her own qualifications, not Adrian's influence. Reeves listened without interrupting, face neutral. You signed 4 consulting contracts in 1 week, he said when she finished, with organizations that do business with or receive funding from Moretti's foundation. That doesn't strike you as suspicious? I signed them because I'm qualified, because people remembered my work from before everything fell apart. People who were invited to a gala specifically designed to resurrect your career, by Adrian Moretti. Yes. Ms. Vale, do you understand how this looks? I understand you're trying to make it look like something it's not. Reeves smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm trying to understand the truth. And the truth is, you exposed massive fraud 3 years ago, lost everything, then suddenly reappear at Adrian Moretti's side with your career magically restored. Either you're the luckiest person alive, or something else is happening. What do you think is happening? I think Adrian Moretti is very good at making problems disappear. I think you were a problem, someone who could testify against his organization if we reopened the investigation. And I think he found a way to make you not a problem anymore. Serena's hands clenched in her lap. By giving me back my career? By making you dependent on him? By creating professional relationships that would be destroyed if you cooperated with investigators? By ensuring your success is tied to his reputation? Reeves leaned forward. Tell me I'm wrong. Serena wanted to defend Adrian, wanted to believe the past week had been genuine, but doubt had already crept in during lunch. This just made it louder. I don't know, she finally said. You don't know if I'm wrong, or you don't know if you've been manipulated? Both. Reeves nodded slowly. Fair answer. More honest than most people manage. He closed the file. Here's what's going to happen. The investigation into Moretti Foundation finances is ongoing. We're looking at current operations, not just the fraud from 3 years ago. We'll likely need your testimony at some point. If that happens, you'll be subpoenaed. Officially. No choice. I'll testify. I'll tell the truth. Even if the truth damages Adrian Moretti? Even then. Even if it damages the career he just gave you back? The question hit like a knife between ribs. Because that was the trap, wasn't it? Adrian had restored her professionally. If she testified against him, those same organizations would drop her overnight. Not because she'd done anything wrong, but because association with scandal was toxic. She'd lose everything again, for telling the truth again. Yes, Serena said, voice steadier than she felt. Even then. Reeves studied her for a long moment. You know, I believe you, which makes you either incredibly brave or incredibly naive. I haven't decided which yet. Can I go? You can go. But Miss Avail, be careful. Men like Adrian Moretti don't do anything without calculating every possible outcome. Whatever you think happened at that gala, whatever you think he's giving you, there's a price. There's always a price. Serena left the precinct at 4:15, stepped into afternoon sunlight that felt too bright, too normal. Her phone had 17 new messages. She ignored all of them, except one, from Adrian. We need to talk, please. She called him. He answered immediately. Where are you? He asked. Just left the police station. Are you okay? No. Serena's voice cracked. No, I'm not okay. They think you bribed me. They think the gala was payoff for my silence. They think everything you've done was manipulation. What do you think? I don't know. Tears burned in her throat. I want to believe you. I want to believe the past week was real. But Adrian, everyone around you gets destroyed. Everyone who trusts you ends up damaged. Why would I be different? Silence on the other end. When Adrian spoke again, his voice was rough. You wouldn't be. That's the problem. The admission felt like falling. I should go, Serena whispered. Wait, please. Let me explain. There's nothing to explain. The detective was right. You gave me back my career, made me dependent on you, made sure my success is tied to your reputation. Whether you did it intentionally or not doesn't matter. The result is the same. Serena, I can't do this. I can't be another person destroyed by proximity to your empire. I won't. She hung up, blocked his number, stood on the sidewalk shaking. Her phone rang immediately. Different number. She answered without thinking. Ms. Vale, this is Channel 7 News. We'd like to comment on your relationship with Adrian Moretti. She hung up, blocked that number too. It rang again and again. Press. Gossip sites. People she'd never heard of asking invasive questions about her personal life, her professional choices, her intentions. By the time Serena made it back to her apartment, she'd blocked 23 numbers and stopped answering entirely. Lena took one look at her face and pulled her into a hug. It's going to be okay, Lena said. No, it's not. I lost everything again. The contracts are suspended, the university withdrew their offer. And now I'm being investigated for potentially being complicit in fraud I exposed in the first place. Serena pulled back, wiping her eyes. I should have stayed invisible, should have kept my head down, should have never gone to that gala. You don't believe that, don't I? Lena gripped her shoulders. Listen to me. You are brilliant. You are qualified. Everything that happened this week happened because you earned it. Not because of Adrian Moretti. Because of you. The police don't think so. The press doesn't think so. The organization suspending my contracts don't think so. Fuck what they think. You know the truth. Hold on to that. But the truth felt slippery, undefined. Because Detective Reeves had planted a question Serena couldn't shake. What if Adrian had orchestrated everything? Not as apology, but as insurance. Not to help her, but to control her. What if she'd been so desperate to reclaim her old life that she'd walked straight into a trap? That night, Serena sat at her laptop, staring at the Tribune article, reading it over and over until the words blurred. Someone had leaked this story. Someone who knew intimate details about her complaint, her termination, the gala, the contracts. Someone who wanted to destroy either her or Adrian or both. She opened a new document and started listing everyone who had access to pieces of the puzzle. Police, Adrian's company, the nonprofit organizations, former colleagues at the International Development Council, Vivian Pierce. Serena pulled up Vivian's LinkedIn profile, still listed as associate at Harrow and Pierce, still connected to half the legal establishment in the city, still nursing a grudge after watching Serena walk out of the firm and immediately rebuild everything Vivian had spent years trying to keep suppressed. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Ms. Vale? This is Harrison Pierce. Serena's stomach clenched. Mr. Pierce, I don't think we have anything to discuss. Actually, we do. I'm calling to offer you your position back. The world tilted. What? The firm reconsidered your departure. We believe it was hasty. We'd like to extend an offer of reinstatement with a promotion to junior associate and a significant salary increase. You fired me 3 years ago for exposing corruption. Last week, I quit. Now you want me back? Circumstances have changed. What circumstances? Harrison's voice went carefully neutral. Let's just say that given recent publicity around your association with Adrian Moretti, the firm believes having you on our team would be mutually beneficial. Understanding crashed through her. They didn't want her. They wanted the connection to Adrian, wanted to capitalize on the scandal, wanted to use her exactly the way Detective Reeves had suggested she was being used. No, Serena said. I don't think you understand the opportunity. I understand perfectly. You want to exploit my relationship with Adrian Moretti for your own benefit. The answer is no. Don't call me again. She hung up, hands shaking with rage. Everyone wanted something. The police wanted testimony. The press wanted scandal. Harrison Pierce wanted access. Adrian wanted... What did Adrian want? She didn't know anymore. At midnight, someone knocked on her apartment door. Serena checked the peephole, expecting press. Found Adrian instead. She opened the door. How did you get past building security? I own the building. Of course he did. You need to leave, Serena said. I will. After you hear me out. Adrian looked exhausted, tie gone, shirt wrinkled, shadows under his eyes. I know what the detective told you. I know what you're thinking, and you're right to think it. I'm right? Everything he said was true, objectively true. I did restore your career. I did create professional relationships that depend on my reputation. I did make you vulnerable to being hurt if this investigation escalates. Adrian's jaw tightened. But Serena, I didn't do it to manipulate you. I did it because I owed you, because my company destroyed something beautiful and I wanted to fix it. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I know. Believe me, I know. He ran a hand through his hair. But I also know that walking away from you now, letting you face this alone, would make me exactly the kind of man you're afraid I am. So what are you offering? Protection? Lawyers? Money? Information? Adrian pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This contains every internal communication from the past 6 months, every email, every memo, every financial transaction related to the foundation. If there's current corruption, it's documented here. I'm giving it to you. Serena stared at the flash drive. Why? Because you deserve the truth, all of it. Not filtered through my lawyers or sanitized by my PR team. Raw data. You can review it yourself, determine if there's ongoing fraud, turn it over to the police if you find something. That could destroy you. Yes. You're seriously handing me potential evidence of your own crimes? I'm handing you proof I'm not committing any. Adrian held her gaze. Or I'm giving you ammunition to finish what you started 3 years ago. Either way, the choice is yours. Serena took the flash drive with trembling hands. This doesn't fix anything. I know, but it's a start. Adrian stepped back toward the elevator. One more thing. I had my security team investigate who leaked the story to the Tribune. It was Vivian Pierce. She's been feeding information to reporters for 2 weeks, trying to destroy both of us. I have proof if you want it. Why would she do that? Because you embarrassed her at the gala. Because you quit and made her look bad. Because she spent her entire life trying to match her father's achievements and failing. Adrian's expression hardened. Because some people can't stand watching others succeed. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. That's your decision too. He got in the elevator and disappeared. Serena stood in her doorway, clutching the flash drive, mind racing. If Adrian was lying, if this was manipulation, he'd just handed her the tools to destroy him completely. If he was telling the truth, she'd just accused an innocent man of conspiracy. Either way, she'd reached the point of no return. Whatever she decided next would define everything that came after. She closed the door, locked it, sat down at her laptop, and plugged in the flash drive. 6 months of data loaded onto her screen. Thousands of files, emails, financial records, meeting minutes, every digital artifact of Adrian Moretti's business operations laid bare. Serena opened the first file and started reading. By dawn, she'd made it through 3 months of records. Her eyes burned. Her coffee had gone cold. But she'd found something, not corruption, something worse. Evidence that Adrian had been systematically identifying everyone damaged by his cousin's fraud, not just her, and quietly compensating them. Millions of dollars in settlements. Jobs created specifically for people who'd been blacklisted. Anonymous donations to organizations that had lost funding. He'd been trying to fix everything for 3 years, without publicity, without recognition, without anyone knowing. Serena sat back, chest tight. This was the truth, not manipulation, not control. Just a man trying to atone for damage he hadn't directly caused but felt responsible for anyway. The realization should have brought relief. Instead, it terrified her, because it meant Adrian Moretti was exactly who he claimed to be, and that made him more dangerous than any liar could ever be. Her phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number that had gotten through her block somehow. Federal grand jury convening Friday. You'll be subpoenaed to testify about Moretti Foundation operations. Hope you're ready to choose whose side you're on. Detective Reeves. Serena stared at the message, pulse hammering. In 48 hours, she'd have to testify under oath. Tell the truth about what she'd found. And destroy either Adrian's reputation or her own credibility in the process. The point of no return wasn't a decision. It was Friday morning, and she had no idea which truth she was going to tell. Friday morning arrived like an execution date. Serena stood in front of her bathroom mirror at 6 a.m., hands gripping the sink edge hard enough to hurt. She'd slept maybe 2 hours total. The rest of the night had been spent reviewing financial documents, rehearsing testimony, and trying to figure out which version of the truth would destroy her life less completely. The subpoena sat on her kitchen counter. Official. Unavoidable. She was due at the federal courthouse at 10. Lena emerged from her bedroom already dressed. I'm coming with you. You don't have to. I know, I'm coming anyway. They didn't speak during the subway ride downtown. Serena kept her eyes fixed on the floor, avoiding the morning commuters who might recognize her from the news coverage. The past 3 days had been relentless, her face plastered across gossip sites, her name trending on social media, strangers on the internet debating whether she was victim or accomplice. The federal courthouse occupied an entire block in Lower Manhattan, all marble columns and architectural intimidation. Serena climbed the steps with Lena beside her, ignoring the small cluster of reporters who'd somehow learned about the testimony. Ms. Vale, are you testifying against Adrian Moretti? Ms. Vale, did you accept bribes to suppress evidence? Ms. Vale, how long have you been romantically involved with... Lena grabbed Serena's elbow and pulled her through the metal detectors, past security, into the elevator. They rode to the 8th floor in silence. Detective Reeves waited in the hallway outside the grand jury chambers. He looked almost sympathetic. Ready? He asked. No. Honest. I appreciate that. Reeves gestured toward the doors. Grand jury proceedings are private. Your sister will have to wait out here. The process should take about an hour. Just answer the questions truthfully. Don't volunteer information they don't ask for. What happens after? Depends on what you tell them. If there's evidence of ongoing fraud, they'll issue indictments. If not, he shrugged. Everyone goes home. Serena looked at Lena. Her sister's expression was fierce. Tell the truth, Lena said. Whatever it is, tell the truth. Serena nodded and walked through the doors into the grand jury chamber. 23 people sat in tiered seating, faces ranging from curious to bored to actively hostile. The assistant district attorney, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and sharper suit, stood at a podium. Please state your name for the record, she said. Serena Vale. Ms. Vale, you're aware you're under oath? Yes. Good. Let's begin. 3 years ago, you filed a formal complaint alleging financial fraud within the Moretti Foundation's International Development Division. Is that correct? Yes. Can you describe what you found? Serena took a breath. I was working as a program coordinator for the International Development Council. We partnered with the Moretti Foundation on several education initiatives in South America. During routine auditing, I discovered discrepancies in funding allocation. Money earmarked for school construction was being diverted to shell organizations, invoices for materials that were never delivered, programs that existed only on paper. How much money? Over the 3-year period I reviewed, approximately $40 million. A murmur rippled through the grand jury. The ADA made notes. What did you do with this information? I documented everything, created a comprehensive report with supporting evidence, filed it through the proper compliance channels. And then what happened? Serena's throat tightened. The report was intercepted by Marcus Moretti, Adrian Moretti's cousin, who was running the fraudulent operations. He buried it, had me quietly terminated from my position, ensured I was blacklisted from the industry. How do you know Marcus Moretti intercepted your report? Adrian Moretti told me, after his cousin was convicted. The ADA's expression sharpened. You've had contact with Adrian Moretti recently? Yes. Describe the nature of that contact. Here it was. The moment everything could implode. 2 weeks ago, Adrian Moretti invited me to the Blackstone Foundation gala. He said it was an apology for what his company had done to my career. He put me in front of people who remembered my work, created opportunities for me to rebuild professionally. What kind of opportunities? Consulting contracts, speaking engagements, leadership positions in international development, all with organizations connected to or funded by Adrian Moretti's foundation? Some of them, yes. The ADA leaned forward. Ms. Vale, did Adrian Moretti offer you financial compensation in exchange for not cooperating with this investigation? No. Did he ask you to suppress evidence? No. Did he attempt to influence your testimony in any way? Serena thought about the flash drive, the financial records Adrian had given her, the evidence he'd literally handed over that could destroy him if she chose to use it that way. No, she said. He did the opposite. Explain. He gave me access to 6 months of internal foundation records, every email, every transaction, every document, told me to review it myself and turn over anything suspicious to authorities. The grand jury stirred. The ADA looked genuinely surprised. Adrian Moretti voluntarily provided you with internal company documents? Yes. Why would he do that? He said I deserved the truth, that I should determine for myself whether there was ongoing corruption. And did you review those documents? Yes. Spent 2 nights going through everything. What did you find? This was it, the moment that would define everything that came next. Serena met the ADA's eyes. I found evidence that Adrian Moretti has spent 3 years systematically identifying and compensating everyone damaged by his cousin's fraud. Anonymous settlements, jobs created for blacklisted professionals, donations to organizations that lost funding. He's been trying to fix the damage quietly without publicity. How much money are we talking about? Based on the records I reviewed, approximately $15 million in restitution over 3 years. That's not exactly quiet compensation. It was private. The recipients signed NDAs. Most don't even know the money came from Adrian Moretti personally. The ADA paced, thinking. Ms. Vale, you're aware this makes you sound either incredibly naive or potentially complicit in covering up ongoing fraud. I'm aware of how it sounds, but I reviewed the actual financial records. There's no evidence of current corruption, just evidence of someone trying to atone for damage his company caused, or evidence of someone very good at hiding it. Then charge him, audit the foundation. You have subpoena power. You don't need my speculation. You need forensic accountants and actual investigation. The ADA's mouth tightened. We're conducting that investigation, but your testimony regarding Adrian Moretti's character and intentions is relevant to establishing pattern of behavior. Then here's my testimony. Adrian Moretti's cousin committed massive fraud. Adrian didn't know about it until the FBI brought him evidence. Once he knew, he cooperated fully with the investigation, provided documentation that led to his cousin's conviction, and has spent 3 years trying to make victims whole. If you're looking for a criminal conspiracy, you're wasting time interrogating me. I'm not part of one. Silence filled the chamber. 23 faces stared at her. The ADA looked like she wanted to argue but couldn't find the angle. No further questions, she finally said. Serena was dismissed. She walked out of the grand jury chamber on legs that felt like water, pushed through the doors into the hallway. Lena stood immediately. How bad? I don't know. Detective Reeves appeared beside them. Ms. Vale, a word? Lena's hand tightened on Serena's arm. She doesn't have to talk to you without a lawyer. It's fine, Serena said. What do you need? Reeves gestured toward an empty conference room. They stepped inside. He closed the door. That was either the most honest testimony I've heard in 20 years, he said, or you're better at this than I gave you credit for. I told the truth. I believe you. Unfortunately, believing you and proving ongoing fraud are different problems. Reeves leaned against the table. The grand jury will likely recommend against indicting Adrian Moretti based on your testimony. There's no evidence of current criminal activity. Relief flooded through Serena. Then this is over? For him? Maybe. For you? Reeves shook his head. Ms. Vale, the press is going to crucify you. You just testified that a billionaire under investigation is innocent, that he's been quietly making restitution, that he gave you access to internal documents and you found nothing suspicious. Every headline tomorrow will call you compromised. I told the truth. The truth doesn't protect you from public opinion or from losing what's left of your professional credibility. Reeves's expression softened slightly. I warned you there was a price. This is it. What are you saying? I'm saying be prepared, because this is about to get much worse before it gets better. He left. Serena stood in the empty conference room, heart hammering, understanding exactly what he meant. She'd just publicly defended Adrian Moretti, told a grand jury he was innocent, confirmed their professional relationship, given every conspiracy theorist and gossip columnist ammunition to paint her as either corrupted or catastrophically naive. The organizations that had suspended her contracts would never reinstate them now. The professional reputation she'd been rebuilding would be permanently tainted by association with scandal. She'd told the truth, and the truth was going to destroy her anyway. Lena was waiting in the hallway, phone already out, face pale. What? Serena asked. It's already leaked. Someone inside the grand jury proceedings talked to press. The Tribune is running a story right now about your testimony. She showed Serena her phone. Whistleblower defends Moretti. Grand jury testimony raises questions about credibility. The article was brutal, quoted anonymous sources describing Serena's testimony as suspiciously supportive of Adrian Moretti. Suggested she'd been compromised. Implied the entire grand jury investigation was a waste of taxpayer resources thanks to an uncooperative witness. Comment sections exploded with speculation. Half called her a sellout, half called her an idiot. Some called her things that made Serena's stomach turn. Her phone started buzzing. Dr. Chen, Ambassador Cordova, 3 other consultants whose contracts were already suspended. She answered Dr. Chen first. Serena, I'm sorry, but given your testimony today, the initiative can't move forward with your contract, even suspended. The optics are... I understand. I don't think you do. You just testified in defense of a man under federal investigation. That association alone makes you toxic professionally. I liked your work. I believed in you, but I can't risk the initiative's reputation on someone the entire development community now views as potentially compromised. I told the truth under oath. I know. That's what makes this so tragic. Dr. Chen's voice was genuinely sad. Good luck, Serena. I hope you find a way through this. The line went dead. Ambassador Cordova didn't even pick up, just sent a text. Contract terminated. Please don't contact my office again. By the time Serena and Lena made it out of the courthouse, all 4 consulting agreements had been officially terminated. The speaking engagements canceled. The professional opportunities that had materialized 2 weeks ago evaporated like they'd never existed. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. Ms. Vale, why did you defend Adrian Moretti? Ms. Vale, are you in a romantic relationship with the subject of a federal investigation? Ms. Vale, do you regret filing the original complaint? Lena pushed through them, practically dragging Serena toward the subway. They made it 2 blocks before Serena's legs gave out. She leaned against a building wall, breathing hard, vision swimming. I did the right thing, she said. I know. I told the truth. I know. So why does it feel like I just destroyed my life again? Lena didn't have an answer for that. They made it back to the apartment by noon. Serena's phone wouldn't stop buzzing, press requests, former colleagues asking for comment, strangers sending messages ranging from supportive to viciously cruel. She turned it off entirely, sat on the couch staring at nothing. What do I do? She asked quietly. Lena sat beside her. I don't know. Everything I rebuilt is gone. Again. Every opportunity. Every connection. I'm right back where I started 3 years ago. Worse, actually. Because now everyone thinks I'm either corrupt or stupid. You're neither. Doesn't matter what I am. Matters what people think I am, and they think I'm compromised. Serena's voice cracked. I lost everything for telling the truth, both times. What kind of cosmic joke is that? Someone knocked on the door, hard, insistent. Lena checked the peephole. It's Adrian. Tell him to leave. He can hear you. Adrian's voice came through the door. And I'm not leaving until you let me in. Serena wanted to refuse, wanted to blame him for everything, wanted to scream that this was his fault, his empire, his mess that kept destroying her no matter what choices she made. She opened the door instead. Adrian looked worse than she'd ever seen him. No tie, shirt wrinkled, hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it for hours, eyes bloodshot. I know what happened, he said. I know about your testimony. I know about the contracts getting terminated. Good. Then you know I don't want to see you right now. Too bad. Because we need to talk. There's nothing to... Vivian Pierce leaked your testimony to the press. Adrian's voice was hard. She has a source inside the courthouse. Someone who fed her details within an hour of you walking out of that grand jury chamber. She's been orchestrating this entire media campaign to destroy both of us. Serena's exhaustion crystallized into fury. And I have proof. Emails. Financial transactions. She's been paying reporters to run specific stories, coordinating coverage to maximize damage. This isn't random gossip. It's a targeted campaign. What do you want me to do about it? Fight back. Let me release the evidence, expose her, show the world this has been manipulation from the start. No. Adrian blinked. What? No. I'm not fighting Vivian Pierce. I'm not getting dragged into some public war between powerful people who destroy each other for sport. I'm done. Serena, I'm done, she repeated, voice rising. I told the truth, under oath, in a federal grand jury proceeding, and it destroyed me anyway, just like 3 years ago, just like every single time I try to do the right thing. So no, Adrian, I'm not fighting. I'm not exposing anyone. I'm not playing this game anymore. This isn't a game. This is your life. Exactly. My life, not yours, not Vivian's, mine. And I'm the one who keeps losing it. Serena's hands were shaking. You want to release evidence against Vivian? Go ahead. Destroy her career, make her pay, but leave me out of it. That's not how this works. Then I guess I don't know how this works. Because from where I'm standing, everyone around you ends up damaged. Your cousin, Marcus Webb, me, everyone who gets close to your empire gets burned. And I'm tired of being collateral damage in wars I didn't start. Adrian's jaw tightened. I never wanted this to happen to you. But it did. And you know what the worst part is? I actually believed you. Believed the gala was genuine. Believed you were trying to help. Believed... Her voice broke. I believed you were different. I am different. No, you're just better at the game than most people. Better at making destruction look like salvation. Better at... I love you. The words hit like a physical blow. Serena stared at him. What? I love you. I've been in love with you since I read your original corruption report. Since I spent 2 years tracking you down. Since I watched you walk into that gala wearing armor and anger and more courage than anyone else in that room. Adrian's voice was raw. I orchestrated the gala to give you back what my company took. But I also did it because I wanted to meet you. Wanted to know if the woman who tried to destroy me was as extraordinary in person as she was on paper. Stop. She is. You are. And I fell harder than I've ever fallen for anyone. Stop talking. I can't fix what's happening to you right now. Can't undo your testimony or control the media narrative or make the consulting contracts come back, but I can tell you the truth. I love you, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect you. Serena felt something crack inside her chest. I don't need protection. I need to not be destroyed every time I get close to you. Then I'll leave. Right now. Walk away. Never contact you again. If that's what you need to be safe. That's what I should need. That's what makes sense. But I don't know anymore. Serena sank onto the couch, exhaustion crushing down. I don't know what I need. I don't know what's real. I don't know if you're telling the truth or if this is just another manipulation I'm too tired to see through. Adrian knelt in front of her, not sitting, not looming, just lowering himself to her eye level, close enough to touch, but not touching. Ask me anything, he said quietly. Anything at all. And I'll tell you the truth. Did you know my testimony would destroy my professional credibility? Yes. The honesty was like cold water. Did you try to stop it? No, because stopping it would have meant asking you to lie under oath. I won't do that. Even if it would have protected me? Especially then, I won't protect you by making you compromise yourself. That's not protection. That's corruption. Serena searched his face for lies, found only exhaustion that matched her own. What happens now? She whispered. That depends on what you want. I want my career back. I want my reputation intact. Her voice cracked. I want to not feel like everything I touch turns to ashes. I can't give you that. Nobody can. But I can give you space, time, distance, whatever you need. What if what I need is for you to disappear? Something flickered across Adrian's expression. Pain, maybe, or acceptance. Then I disappear. He stood, headed toward the door. Serena's phone, which she'd turned off, somehow buzzed on the coffee table. Powered itself on. Emergency alert. She grabbed it, confused. News notification. Breaking story. Federal prosecutors announce indictments in Moretti Foundation case. 3 senior executives charged with ongoing fraud. Serena's blood went cold. She opened the article with shaking hands. The indictments weren't for Adrian. They were for 3 of his current foundation executives, people whose names had appeared in the financial documents he'd given her, people she'd assumed were clean based on her review. According to the article, federal investigators had uncovered a secondary fraud scheme operating parallel to Marcus Moretti's original operation. Smaller, more sophisticated, buried deep enough that even Adrian's internal audits had missed it, but not deep enough to hide from forensic accountants with subpoena power. The article quoted Detective Reeves. This investigation is ongoing. We believe the fraud network extends beyond the individuals indicted today. Anyone with information regarding Moretti Foundation operations is encouraged to contact federal authorities. Adrian had stopped at the door. He was reading the same article on his own phone, face going progressively paler. I didn't know, he said. I swear to God I didn't know. You gave me those financial records, told me to review them. I found nothing. Because they hid it well. Better than Marcus did. Better than... Adrian's hands clenched into fists. Jesus Christ, this whole time, right under my nose. The article says the fraud dates back 18 months. That's after Marcus was convicted, after you supposedly cleaned house. I did clean house. I fired everyone connected to Marcus, brought in new leadership, had external auditors review everything. And yet, Adrian looked destroyed. Serena, I swear I didn't know. This wasn't... I would never... It doesn't matter. What? Whether you knew or didn't know, whether this was intentional or negligence, it doesn't matter. Serena stood, legs unsteady. Because the result is the same. Your foundation has been corrupt twice. Once with your cousin, now with your current executives. And I just testified to a grand jury that you were innocent. Understanding crashed across Adrian's face. They're going to crucify you. Yes. I'll release a statement. Clarify that you had no knowledge of this secondary fraud, that you reviewed documents I provided and reached reasonable conclusions based on available information. That'll make it worse. Make it look like I'm incompetent at best. Complicit at worst. Then what do you want me to do? Serena's phone started buzzing. Calls, texts, emails flooding in. Detective Reeves, we need to talk. Immediately. Dr. Chen, did you know? When you testified. Ambassador Cordova, this is exactly why I terminated your contract. The press. Ms. Vale, Were you aware of ongoing fraud when you defended Adrian Moretti? And Vivian Pierce, message dripping with false sympathy. I tried to warn you. Some people never learn. Serena's vision blurred. The room tilted. I need you to leave, she said. Serena. Now, please, I can't. I need to think. I need. Her breath came in short gasps. Please just go. Adrian looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he pulled a key from his pocket and set it on the table. Penthouse apartment, building on West 23rd. It's empty, secure. No press knows about it. If you need somewhere to go, somewhere safe. I don't want your... It's not a gift. It's not manipulation. It's just space. Take it or don't. But the offer stands. He left. The second the door closed, Serena's legs gave out completely. She collapsed onto the floor, breathing too fast, vision going dark at the edges. Lena was there instantly. Hey, look at me, breathe. I can't. Everything is, I know, but you're here, you're safe, breathe with me. Lena counted breaths, slow, steady, until Serena's vision cleared, until her lungs remembered how to work. I testified he was innocent, Serena whispered. Under oath. In federal proceedings. And the entire time, his foundation was running another fraud operation. You didn't know. Doesn't matter. I looked incompetent or complicit. Either way, my credibility is destroyed. Then we fix it. How? Serena's laugh was broken. How do we fix this? The consulting contracts are gone. My professional reputation is shredded. I just publicly defended a man whose company turned out to be corrupt exactly like I feared. How do we fix any of this? Lena was quiet for a long moment. We leave, she finally said. Serena looked up. What? We leave the city. Start over somewhere else. Somewhere without reporters and federal investigations and people who want to destroy you. Run away? Survive. There's a difference. Serena wanted to argue. Wanted to say running wasn't the answer. Wanted to believe she could stay and fight and somehow salvage something from this disaster. But she was so tired, so completely exhausted by 3 years of fighting and losing and fighting again. Where would we even go? She asked. Anywhere. Ecuador, Guatemala. Somewhere you actually did good work before all this fell apart. Somewhere people remember you for what you built, not what got destroyed. The idea was simultaneously terrifying and seductive. Just disappear. Start over. Leave Adrian and Vivian and Detective Reeves and the entire toxic machinery of this city behind. Her phone buzzed again. Detective Reeves calling. She answered. Ms. Vale, we have a problem. What now? One of the executives we just indicted is claiming you knew about the fraud. Says you were shown evidence during your document review and deliberately didn't report it. Serena's heart stopped. That's a lie. I know, but it's a lie we have to investigate, which means you're going to be called back for questioning, possibly charged with obstruction. I told the truth. I reviewed documents and found nothing because the fraud was hidden too well. That's not obstruction. That's your word against a federal defendant looking for leverage. And Ms. Vale, your word isn't worth much right now given how public your relationship with Adrian Moretti has become. So what are you saying? I'm saying get a lawyer, a good one. Because this is about to become a criminal matter, not just a professional one. The line went dead. Serena sat on her apartment floor, phone in hand, understanding with perfect clarity that she'd reached the absolute bottom. No career, no credibility, no professional relationships, and now potentially facing criminal charges for obstruction in a case where she'd been the original whistleblower. She'd lost everything, again, for telling the truth. Again. I can't do this anymore, she said quietly. Lena squeezed her hand. Then don't. We leave. Tonight. Pack what matters. Disappear before they can drag you through more interrogations. That's running from a federal investigation. That's self-preservation. Serena looked at her sister. 23 years old. Ready to abandon her own life to protect Serena. Ready to disappear into a foreign country with no plan and no guarantee of safety. The loyalty was beautiful and heartbreaking in equal measure. I can't ask you to do that, Serena said. You're not asking. I'm offering. Serena's phone buzzed one more time, text from Adrian. Whatever you're thinking about doing, don't. We can fight this. Together. Please don't run. She stared at the message. Every instinct screamed that trusting Adrian again was insane, that men like him were always the storm at the center of the damage, that getting close to his orbit meant getting destroyed. But the alternative was running, disappearing, becoming exactly what everyone already accused her of being, someone who couldn't be trusted, who fled when consequences appeared, who chose survival over integrity. She'd told the truth under oath, defended an innocent man based on evidence she'd carefully reviewed. The fact that new fraud had been uncovered didn't change the accuracy of her testimony. It just made her look incompetent. And maybe she was incompetent. Maybe she'd missed something obvious in those financial records. Maybe her desperation to believe Adrian was innocent had blinded her to red flags that would have been obvious to someone less emotionally invested. Or maybe the fraud really had been sophisticated enough to hide from her review. Maybe 3 executives had deliberately buried evidence deep enough that even internal audits missed it. Maybe she'd done everything right and still ended up destroyed because that's just how this world worked. The truth didn't protect you. Power did. Serena looked at Lena. I need to make a call. To who? Someone who might actually be able to help. She dialed a number she'd kept stored but never used. It rang twice. Dr. Patricia Chen. It's Serena Vale. I know you terminated my contract. I know you think I'm compromised, but I need 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to tell you something important. Silence on the other end. Then, you have 3 minutes. Talk. The fraud that just got indicted? I didn't know about it when I testified. I reviewed 6 months of financial records Adrian gave me and found nothing because it was hidden too well. I'm not incompetent. I'm not complicit. I'm just someone who got caught in a nightmare I can't wake up from. I believe you. Doesn't change anything. It should, because if Adrian Moretti's foundation has been running fraud operations for years, multiple operations with different people, then there's a systemic problem, not just criminal executives, a structural issue that makes corruption possible even when leadership thinks they're preventing it. What's your point? My point is that I know how to fix it. I spent years designing accountability systems for international development programs. I know how to build auditing frameworks that actually catch fraud before it metastasizes. And if Adrian's serious about cleaning up his foundation, he needs someone who isn't afraid to tell him his entire organizational structure is broken. You want me to recommend you for that job? No. I want you to tell me if I'm completely insane for considering taking it myself. Dr. Chen was quiet for a long moment. You'd be working for a man under federal investigation, rebuilding an organization that's been publicly humiliated twice, taking on a role that makes you responsible for either fixing or failing to fix systemic corruption. Yes. Serena, that's professional suicide. As opposed to my current situation. Fair point. Dr. Chen exhaled slowly. If you do this, if you actually take on reforming the Moretti Foundation from the inside, you need absolute authority. No interference from Adrian or the board. Complete transparency. And you need to document everything, so when this inevitably explodes again, you have proof you were trying to fix it. You think it will explode again? I think organizations that have been corrupt twice don't suddenly become clean just because someone competent is finally paying attention. But if you're committed to trying, she paused, don't do it for Adrian. Do it for all the programs and communities that are losing funding because his foundation can't be trusted. Those are the real victims here. The call ended. Serena sat staring at her phone, understanding crystallizing with perfect, terrifying clarity. She had 2 choices. Run. Disappear. Start over somewhere else with a clean slate and no connection to this disaster. Or stay. Fight. Rebuild the exact organization that had destroyed her, knowing it would consume years of her life and might destroy her again in the process. One choice was safe, the other was insane. She looked at Lena. I need to talk to Adrian. Serena, I know it's crazy, but I think... She stopped. I think the only way out of this is straight through the middle of it. That's not a strategy. That's martyrdom. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way to actually fix something instead of just surviving it. Lena looked at her for a long moment. You're going to take a job running his foundation, aren't you? I'm going to consider it. That's the same thing. I know. Serena pulled out Adrian's card, the one with just a phone number, called it. He answered on the first ring. Serena, I need to see you in person, somewhere private. When? Now. He gave her an address. The penthouse he'd mentioned earlier, West 23rd. She hung up and stood. I'm coming with you, Lena said immediately. No. Serena, I need to do this alone. If it goes badly, I need you somewhere safe, not caught in the blast radius. Lena looked like she wanted to argue. Instead, she pulled Serena into a fierce hug. If he hurts you, Lena said quietly, I burn it all down. Everything he owns, everything he loves. I will destroy him. I know. Serena grabbed her jacket and headed for the door, heart hammering, knowing she was about to either make the best decision of her life or walk straight into the final disaster that would finish what the past 3 years had started. The penthouse was 40 floors above the city, all glass walls and minimalist furniture, and views that made you forget the ground existed. Adrian was waiting when Serena arrived, still looking exhausted, still looking like a man whose entire empire was crumbling in real time. You came, he said. I need to know something, and I need you to tell me the absolute truth. Anything. Did you know about the secondary fraud when you gave me those financial records? Adrian met her eyes. No, I swear on everything I have I didn't know. Would you tell me if you did? No, but I'm telling you the truth. I didn't know. Serena searched his face, found exhaustion and fury and something that looked like genuine devastation. I believe you, she said. Adrian's shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, because now I need you to answer a harder question. What? Do you actually want to fix your foundation? Really fix it? Not just clean up this specific mess, but rebuild the entire structure so corruption can't happen again? Yes. Even if it means giving up control? Even if it means hiring someone with absolute authority to gut your organization and rebuild it from scratch? Even if it means admitting your entire leadership approach has been fundamentally broken? Adrian was quiet for a long moment. What are you proposing? I'm proposing that you hire me to reform the Moretti Foundation from the ground up. Give me complete authority over auditing, compliance, and organizational structure. Let me build accountability systems that actually work. And accept that fixing this will be ugly and painful and might destroy what's left of your reputation in the process. You want to work for me? I want to fix the thing that destroyed me. There's a difference. Serena, if you take this job, the press will crucify you. The feds will investigate every decision you make. Your professional reputation will be tied to an organization everyone assumes is irredeemably corrupt. I know. Then why? Because Dr. Chen was right. The real victims here aren't you or me. They're the communities losing funding because your foundation can't be trusted. The education program's shutting down. The development initiative's collapsing. I can either run away and let that continue, or I can stay and try to fix it. Adrian studied her face. This isn't about me, about us. No, this is about doing work that actually matters instead of just surviving. You'll have complete authority. Whatever you need. Whatever changes you want to make. I won't interfere. I'm not finished. I also want a public statement from you clarifying that my grand jury testimony was based on information available at the time, that I had no knowledge of the secondary fraud operation, and that any accusations of obstruction or complicity are false. Done. And I want Vivian Pierce exposed. All of it. The leaked stories, the paid reporters, the coordinated campaign. I want the world to know she's been orchestrating this. Adrian's expression hardened. That'll start a war. Good. I'm tired of being the only casualty. When do you want to start? Monday. But first I need something from you. Name it. Serena stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat radiating off him, close enough to see the exhaustion in his eyes that matched her own. I need to know if you meant it, she said quietly. When you said you loved me. I meant it. Because if I do this, if I take this job and tie my entire professional future to your organization, I need to know the personal and professional are actually separate, that you won't use one as leverage over the other. Adrian reached out slowly, giving her time to step back. When she didn't, he cupped her face in both hands. I love you, he said. That's real. That's separate from the foundation, from the job, from everything else. And I'll prove it by never asking you to compromise professionally for personal reasons. Never asking you to choose between integrity and us. And if fixing your foundation means exposing things that hurt you, then you expose them. Serena searched his eyes for lies, found only exhaustion and something that looked like hope. She kissed him, not gentle, not romantic, hard and desperate and furious, pouring 3 years of rage and fear and exhaustion into the contact. Adrian kissed her back with matching intensity, hands tangling in her hair, pulling her closer like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. They broke apart, breathing hard. "That doesn't fix anything," Serena said. "I know. This is still going to be a disaster. Probably. We might destroy each other." "Maybe." Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "But at least we'll do it honestly." Serena laughed despite everything. "That's the worst romantic declaration I've ever heard." "It's the only one I can promise is true." Her phone buzzed. Text from Detective Reeves. "Need to schedule your follow-up interrogation. Monday morning. Bring your lawyer." Reality crashed back in. Monday morning, she had to face federal investigators again, defend her testimony, prove she wasn't complicit. Monday afternoon, she'd start the impossible task of reforming an organization everyone assumed was beyond saving. And somewhere in between, she'd have to figure out if loving Adrian Moretti was the bravest or stupidest decision she'd ever made. Serena looked at him. "I should go. Think through everything before I officially accept." "If you change your mind, I won't." "How do you know?" "Because I'm done running, done making myself smaller, done letting fear make my decisions." Serena stepped back. "I'm going to fix your foundation, expose Vivian, rebuild my reputation by actually doing the work instead of hoping people believe I'm competent. And I'm going to do it all while refusing to compromise who I am." Adrian smiled, real warmth breaking through the exhaustion. "You're terrifying." "Good. You should be terrified, because I'm about to tear apart everything you built and rebuild it better." "I can't wait." Serena left the penthouse, rode the elevator down 40 floors, stepped out into the cold night air feeling more alive than she had in years. Her career was destroyed. Her reputation was shredded. Federal investigators thought she might be a criminal, and she was about to voluntarily walk into the exact organization that had caused all of it. It was insane. It was impossible. It was the only choice that felt like actually living instead of just surviving. Her phone rang. "Lena." "You alive?" "Yes." "Did he hurt you?" "No, he offered me a job." Silence, then, "What?" "I'm going to run the Moretti Foundation, reform it from the inside, fix everything that's broken." "Serena, I know it sounds crazy. It is crazy. But Lena, I'm so tired of running, so tired of letting other people define who I am and what I'm capable of. This is my chance to actually do something that matters." More silence. Then, quietly, "Okay. Okay? You're my sister. If you're going to do something insane, I'm going to support you. But if this goes wrong, you burn it all down. I know. Love you." "Love you too." Serena hung up and started walking. No destination, just movement. Through city streets at midnight, past closed shops and late-night diners, and other people living their quiet, uncomplicated lives. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. "Monday. My lawyers will draft employment contract. Complete authority, no interference. Everything you asked for. I'll be there." "Serena?" "Yes?" "Thank you. For not running. For staying. For..." He stopped. "For being the kind of person who fights instead of hides. Ask me again in 6 months if you're still grateful, when I've gutted your leadership team and exposed every piece of corruption I find. I'll be grateful then, too." The call ended. Serena stood at a crosswalk, watching the light change from red to green, understanding with perfect clarity that her life had just become something completely different. No more invisibility. No more survival mode. No more making herself smaller. She was walking straight into the fire that had already burned her twice. And this time, she wasn't trying to escape it. She was planning to burn it down from the inside and rebuild something better from the ashes. The light changed. Serena crossed the street and headed home, already planning the first steps of the most dangerous job she'd ever accepted. Monday morning would bring federal interrogation. Monday afternoon would bring the beginning of a war against an organization designed to resist exactly the kind of reform she was about to force on it. And somewhere in all of it, She'd have to navigate loving a man whose empire she was actively planning to destroy and rebuild. It was impossible. It was insane. It was exactly what she'd been preparing for her entire life without knowing it. And for the first time in 3 years, Serena Vale felt like she was finally, truly, completely alive. Monday morning came with the weight of an executioner's axe. Serena stood outside the federal building at 8:45, coffee cooling in her hand, watching suited lawyers stream through security checkpoints. Her own lawyer, Marcus Chen, recommended by Adrian but paid with what remained of her savings, stood beside her reviewing notes on a tablet. "Remember," Marcus said without looking up, "answer only what they ask. Don't volunteer information. Don't try to explain yourself out of holes they're digging. Yes, no, I don't recall. That's your vocabulary today." "I'm not going to lie. I'm not asking you to lie. I'm asking you to be strategically concise." He finally looked at her. "These people want to know if you deliberately ignored evidence of fraud. They want to know if Adrian Moretti compromised you. They want ammunition to either charge you with obstruction or use you as a witness against him. Every word you say can be weaponized. Understand?" Serena nodded, throat tight. They went through security, rode the elevator to the 14th floor, walked into a conference room where Detective Reeves sat beside 2 federal prosecutors, a man and woman, both looking like they'd been forged from the same piece of granite. "Ms. Vale," the woman said, "I'm Assistant U.S. Attorney Catherine Wolfe. This is AUSA James Park. Thank you for coming in voluntarily." "Did I have a choice?" Serena asked. "Not really, but the voluntary part looks better in reports." Wolfe gestured to a chair. "Please sit." Marcus sat beside Serena, positioning himself slightly forward. Protective stance. Lawyer as human shield. Wolfe opened a file. "Let's start simple. When you reviewed the financial documents Adrian Moretti provided, did you find any irregularities?" "I found evidence of past fraud that had already been prosecuted. I found no evidence of current ongoing fraud." "Did you look for it?" "Of course." "How thoroughly?" Serena's hands clenched under the table. "I spent 2 nights reviewing 6 months of transactions, emails, operational records. I cross-referenced expenditures against program outcomes, checked for shell companies, inflated invoices, ghost employees, everything I flagged 3 years ago in my original complaint. Everything except the fraud we just indicted 3 executives for." "Yes, because they hid it better than Marcus Moretti did, or because I'm not a forensic accountant with subpoena power." Serena leaned forward slightly. "I did my best with the information available. That's not incompetence. That's the limitation of civilian document review." Park jumped in. "But you then testified to a grand jury that Adrian Moretti was innocent, that he'd been making restitution, that there was no ongoing criminal activity. Based on what I found, which turned out to be wrong, which turned out to be incomplete. There's a difference." "Is there?" Park's voice went cold. "Because from where we're sitting, you either failed to identify obvious fraud, or you identified it and chose not to report it. Either makes you a problem." Marcus intervened. "My client reviewed documents provided by Adrian Moretti, found no evidence of criminal activity in those specific documents, and testified truthfully to those findings. The fact that additional fraud existed outside the scope of her review doesn't invalidate her testimony. It invalidates her credibility," Wolfe said. "And it raises serious questions about why Adrian Moretti chose her specifically to review internal documents when he had access to professional auditing firms." "Why don't you ask him?" Serena said. "We did. He says he trusted your integrity, that you were the only person he knew who'd done this kind of analysis before and wouldn't be intimidated by his position." Wolfe's expression was unreadable. "Convenient answer. Almost too convenient. What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that Adrian Moretti is very good at making problems disappear, and you were a problem, the whistleblower who could testify about systemic corruption if we reopened the investigation. So he made you not a problem by giving you back your career, creating financial dependence, and ensuring your professional reputation became tied to his innocence." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Serena felt rage building behind her ribs. "You think he bought me? I think he managed you. Brilliantly. And I think you either don't realize it or don't want to admit it. Then charge me. Obstruction. Conspiracy. Whatever you think I did, charge me and let a jury decide." Serena's voice shook but held steady. "Because I'm done being interrogated for telling the truth. Wolf and Park exchanged glances. Some silent communication Serena couldn't read. "We're not charging you," Wolf finally said. "Yet. But Ms. Vale, understand this. If we find any evidence you knowingly concealed fraud, any proof you were compensated for silence, any indication this was coordination rather than coincidence, we will charge you. And unlike Adrian Moretti, you don't have a team of lawyers insulating you from consequences." "Is that a threat?" "It's a reality check." Wolf closed her file. "You're free to go. For now. But stay available. We may need additional testimony as the investigation continues." Marcus stood immediately, hand on Serena's elbow. "We're done here." They left the conference room, walked to the elevator, rode down 14 floors in silence. Didn't speak until they were outside on the sidewalk, surrounded by Monday morning foot traffic and the noise of the city pretending everything was normal. "How bad?" Serena asked. "Bad. They're building a case that Adrian manipulated you. If they can prove it, they'll charge both of you. Him with witness tampering, you with obstruction." "Can they prove it?" "Depends on what communications exist. Emails, text messages, financial transactions they can characterize as payments for silence." Marcus looked at her seriously. "Serena, if you've accepted any money from Adrian, I haven't. Gifts, jewelry, use of property?" Serena thought about the penthouse, the key Adrian had given her, the offer of a secure space away from press. "He offered me use of an apartment. I never took him up on it." "Good. Don't. Any financial connection between you two right now is ammunition." Marcus checked his watch. "You have that meeting at the foundation this afternoon?" "Yes." "Be careful. The feds will be watching. If you take the job, they'll interpret it as final proof you were compromised. Let them. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do, not because it looks good." Marcus smiled slightly. "That's either admirable or suicidal. I haven't decided which." "Maybe both." He left. Serena stood on the sidewalk, pulled out her phone, saw 17 missed calls. Press, former colleagues, people wanting statements or explanations or just blood in the water. One text from Adrian. "How did it go?" She called him. He answered immediately. "They didn't charge me," Serena said, "but they're building a case that you manipulated me. Witness tampering." Adrian was quiet for a moment. "Do you believe that?" "No, but it doesn't matter what I believe. It matters what they can prove." "Serena, if taking this job puts you at legal risk—" "Everything puts me at legal risk right now. I'm doing it anyway." She took a breath. "I need you to send me everything, every financial record from the past 3 years, every personnel file, every audit report, complete transparency, no redactions." "Done. When are you coming in?" 2:00. I want the entire executive team in the conference room, everyone with decision-making authority." "They're not going to like that." "I don't care. If I'm reforming this organization, I need to know who's going to fight me and who's going to help. Better to know immediately." "You'll have it." Adrian paused. "Serena, thank you for not walking away. Thank me after I've actually fixed something. Right now I'm just a disaster walking into another disaster." She hung up and headed home. The apartment was empty when she arrived. Lena had left a note. "At studio, call if you need me. Love you. Don't die." Serena smiled despite everything. Changed into professional clothes. Dark suit, minimal jewelry, armor for what came next. Pulled her hair back severely. Looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. 3 years ago, she'd been vibrant, passionate, idealistic enough to think telling the truth mattered more than protecting herself. Then she'd been invisible, diminished, surviving on scraps and swallowing humiliation. Now she was something else entirely. Harder, sharper. Someone who'd been destroyed twice and decided the third time would be on her own terms. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Ms. Vale, this is Jennifer Martinez from the Tribune." Serena's jaw clenched. "I have no comment." "I'm not asking for a comment. I'm calling to warn you." "About what?" "We're running a story tomorrow. Whistleblower to corporate insider, Serena Vale's journey from exposing fraud to enabling it. It profiles your history with the Moretti Foundation, your testimony, and your new position as Director of Organizational Reform." "How do you know about the position?" "I haven't officially accepted yet." "We have sources. The story goes to print tonight. I wanted to give you a chance to respond before publication. Serena's hands shook. This is Vivian Pierce. She's feeding you this story. I can't reveal my sources. You don't have to. I already know. Serena's voice hardened. Print whatever you want. I'm done being intimidated by bad press. And Ms. Martinez? When I expose who's been paying you to run hit pieces, your own credibility is going to be the casualty. She hung up before the reporter could respond. Adrian called 30 seconds later. The Tribune is running another story. I know. They called me. I'm releasing the evidence about Vivian tonight, before their story publishes. Take away their narrative. No. What? I said no. If you release evidence about Vivian now, it looks like retaliation for bad press. It makes me look like I'm hiding behind you. We wait. Serena, this story will destroy... It can't destroy what's already destroyed. My reputation is gone. My credibility is shredded. One more article doesn't change anything. She took a breath. But if we wait, if we let her keep attacking while I'm actually doing the work of reforming your foundation, then when we finally expose her, it's not revenge. It's documentation of a pattern. It's proof of sustained harassment. It's criminal, not personal. Adrian was quiet. You're thinking like someone who's been through this before. I have been through this before. I know how it works. Strike too early and you look guilty. Wait until you have overwhelming evidence and you look credible. How long do we wait? As long as it takes. Serena, I can handle bad press, Adrian. What I can't handle is you fighting my battles for me. If I'm going to rebuild my reputation, it has to be through my own actions, not your interventions. Understood. He paused. See you at 2? See you at 2. Serena hung up and spent the next 3 hours preparing. Reviewed organizational charts. Read through the indictments against the 3 executives. Made lists of questions that needed answers and systems that needed immediate overhaul. At 1:30, she left the apartment and headed to the Moretti Foundation headquarters. The building occupied 20 floors in Midtown, all glass and steel, and the kind of aggressive modernity that screamed money and power. Serena walked through the lobby, signed in at security, took the elevator to the 18th floor where the executive offices lived. Adrian's assistant, a young woman who looked terrified, escorted Serena to the main conference room. Everyone's waiting, she said quietly. Fair warning, they're not happy. I'd be worried if they were. The conference room was all windows and tension. 8 executives sat around a massive table, 5 men, 3 women, all wearing expressions ranging from skeptical to openly hostile. Adrian stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, face unreadable. Serena walked in and closed the door behind her. Good afternoon, she said. I'm Serena Vale. As of today, I'm your new Director of Organizational Reform, which means for the foreseeable future, I'm the person you're all going to hate most in this building. One of the men, late 50s, gray suit, nameplate reading Robert Hastings, CFO, laughed without humor. Bold opening. Honest opening. You're all wondering why Adrian hired someone with no corporate experience, no management background, and a reputation for destroying this organization once already. Serena met each person's eyes in turn. The answer is simple. I'm here because I know how to identify corruption, and I'm not afraid to burn down everything necessary to eliminate it. A woman, Sarah Kim, COO, leaned forward. We've already had 3 executives indicted. The organization is under federal investigation. The last thing we need is more disruption. The last thing you need is more fraud. Disruption is how we prevent that. You think we're all corrupt? Another man, David Torres, General Counsel, asked sharply. I think corruption doesn't happen in isolation. It happens when systems fail, when oversight is weak, when people prioritize reputation over accountability. Serena pulled out her tablet. I spent the weekend reviewing 3 years of financial records. Want to know what I found? Silence. I found ghost employees, consultants billing 200 hours per week, vendors with no verifiable business addresses, grants approved without site visits or outcome verification. And I found a culture where nobody asks hard questions because asking questions is considered disloyal. Robert's face reddened. That's an insult to everyone in this room. It's an observation based on evidence. If you find it insulting, maybe that's information worth examining. Adrian spoke for the first time. Serena has complete authority to implement whatever reforms she deems necessary. That includes personnel changes, structural reorganization, and operational overhauls. Anyone who can't accept that is welcome to resign. The room went silent, power shifting in real time. Sarah Kim stood abruptly. This is absurd. We're supposed to take orders from someone who testified to a grand jury that there was no fraud, only to be proven wrong days later? I testified based on incomplete information, Serena said evenly, which is exactly the problem. Information in this organization is siloed, auditing is superficial, and accountability is non-existent. That ends now. On whose authority? Mine. Backed by Adrian's, enforced by federal investigators if necessary. Serena didn't blink. You can cooperate or you can obstruct, but obstruction will be documented, reported, and prosecuted. Your choice. Sarah looked at Adrian. You're seriously letting her threaten us? I'm letting her do her job, which is identifying and eliminating corruption. If you're not corrupt, you have nothing to worry about. And if we are, then you should be worried. David Torres cleared his throat. Let's say we cooperate. What exactly are you proposing? Serena pulled up a presentation on the conference room screen. Immediate implementation of the following: mandatory financial disclosure for all executives, external auditing of every program over $50,000, site visits for all international initiatives, anonymous whistleblower hotline with third-party management, monthly compliance reviews, and zero tolerance for retaliation against anyone who reports concerns. That'll slow operations to a crawl, Robert said. Good. Slow and clean is better than fast and corrupt. Our donors won't accept delays. Our donors will accept transparency. What they won't accept is another fraud scandal. Serena advanced the slide. Additionally, I'm instituting a cultural review. Every employee will be interviewed confidentially about organizational practices, leadership behavior, and concerns about compliance. Those interviews will be conducted by an external firm. The results will be compiled and published internally. You're going to air our dirty laundry? Sarah's voice was incredulous. I'm going to identify it so we can clean it. There's a difference. Serena closed the presentation. I know this is uncomfortable. I know it feels invasive, but you have two choices. Let me fix this organization voluntarily, or wait for federal prosecutors to do it forcibly. One preserves your careers, the other destroys them. The room erupted. 3 people talking at once. Robert shouting about overreach, Sarah demanding Adrian reconsider, David arguing about legal exposure. Serena waited for the noise to die down. When it didn't, she slammed her hand on the table hard enough to make everyone jump. Enough! The silence was immediate. I don't care if you like me. I don't care if you respect me. I don't care if you think I'm qualified. What I care about is making sure this organization never destroys another innocent person the way it destroyed me. Serena's voice was cold. 3 years ago, I lost my career for telling the truth about fraud in this foundation. I was blacklisted, humiliated, erased. And while I was surviving on scraps, you people were collecting salaries and bonuses built on stolen money. So forgive me if I don't give a damn about your comfort while I dismantle the systems that made that possible. Robert stood. I won't be spoken to this way. Then resign. I've worked here 15 years. Congratulations. That means you had 15 years to notice something was wrong and chose not to. Doors that way. Robert looked at Adrian. Adrian said nothing. Robert's face went purple, but he sat back down. Serena took a breath. I'm not trying to destroy careers. I'm trying to save an organization, but that requires honesty. It requires accountability. And it requires every person in this room deciding whether they're part of the solution or part of the problem. Sarah Kim's expression was unreadable. What do you need from us? Full cooperation, complete transparency, and the willingness to admit when you don't know something instead of pretending you do. And if we do all that, then maybe we rebuild something worth saving. The meeting lasted another 2 hours. Serena outlined specific reforms, timelines, accountability measures, met resistance at every turn but refused to compromise on fundamentals. By the time she dismissed everyone, her voice was hoarse and her hands were shaking with adrenaline. Adrian stayed behind after everyone left. That was brutal, he said. That was necessary. Half of them want to resign. Good. Let them. The ones who stay will be the ones actually committed to fixing this. Serena sank into a chair, exhaustion crashing over her. How bad is the blowback going to be? Significant, but manageable. Adrian sat across from her. You were right about everything. About the culture, the systems, the willingness to ignore problems. I built something broken and didn't realize it until it destroyed people. So let's fix it. It's going to take years. I know. You'll be attacked every step of the way. Press. Federal investigators, employees who resist change, donors who don't like transparency. I know that too. Adrian leaned forward. Why are you doing this? Really? Not the noble answer. The true one. Serena was quiet for a long moment. Because I'm tired of being a victim. Tired of having things done to me. Tired of surviving instead of actually living. This, she gestured around the room, this is me taking control, fighting back, refusing to let corruption and cowardice define my story. And us? Us exists separately, has to exist separately, because if I'm going to do this work, I can't be wondering if every decision is influenced by how I feel about you. Fair. Adrian stood, moved to the window. The Tribune story publishes tomorrow. After that, the press attention will be worse. Federal scrutiny will intensify. You'll be photographed every time you leave this building. Followed. Harassed. Are you ready for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. He turned to look at her. You're the most stubborn person I've ever met. You're the most controlling person I've ever met. We make a terrible pair. Probably. Adrian smiled slightly. But I'm grateful you're here. Ask me again in 6 months. Serena's phone buzzed. Text from Lena. Did you survive? Barely, she typed back. Come home. I need to debrief with someone who won't judge me. She looked at Adrian. I should go. Early start tomorrow. Serena. He stopped. Be careful. The people who benefited from corruption won't let you dismantle it without fighting back. Let them fight. I'm done being afraid. She left the foundation headquarters as rush hour traffic clogged the streets, walked 12 blocks before catching a cab, spent the entire ride watching for press following her. Made it home without incident. Lena was waiting with takeout and questions. Serena told her everything while they ate Thai food on the couch. The federal interrogation, the hostile executive meeting, Adrian's warnings about blowback. You're insane, Lena said finally. I know. But I'm proud of you. Thanks. They spent the evening watching mindless television, Serena's mind half present, already planning the next day's moves. Around midnight, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Ms. Vale? The voice was male, unfamiliar, with an edge that made her skin prickle. You should be more careful about the enemies you make. Who is this? Someone who wants you to understand that reforming the Moretti Foundation isn't just inconvenient for corrupt executives. It's dangerous for people whose livelihoods depend on operations continuing as they have been. Serena's heart hammered. Are you threatening me? I'm warning you. Back off. Resign quietly. Go back to being invisible. Because if you keep pushing, you're going to discover exactly how far people will go to protect their interests. The line went dead. Serena sat frozen, phone in shaking hands. Lena noticed immediately. What's wrong? Someone just threatened me, told me to resign, or... She couldn't finish the sentence. We're calling the police. And telling them what? That an anonymous caller warned me to back off? They'll take a report and do nothing. Then we tell Adrian. He has security. No. If I run to Adrian every time something scary happens, I prove everyone right about being dependent on him. Serena, this is serious. This isn't press harassment. This is someone threatening violence. I know. Serena took a shaky breath. But I'm not backing down. Not over an anonymous phone call. Not over anything. That's not bravery. That's martyrdom. Maybe. Or maybe it's the only way this actually changes. Lena looked at her sister for a long moment. You've changed since the gala. You're harder now. I had to be. Soft doesn't survive. Just don't lose yourself trying to prove something. Serena wanted to promise she wouldn't. Couldn't make herself say the words because she wasn't sure they'd be true. That night, she barely slept. Every noise in the apartment made her jump. Every car engine on the street below felt like threat. When dawn finally came, she was exhausted and wired simultaneously. The Tribune story published at 6 a.m. Serena read it on her phone while drinking coffee that tasted like ashes. The article was exactly as promised, a profile painting her as either naive victim or willing accomplice in Adrian's corruption. Quoted anonymous sources suggesting she'd been compensated for favorable testimony. Implied romantic involvement compromised her judgment. Concluded with speculation about whether her new position was reward for loyalty or liability management. The comments section was vicious. She's either the dumbest whistleblower alive or the smartest fraud accomplice. Sleeping your way into a six-figure job. Classy. This woman destroyed her own credibility defending a criminal. What makes anyone think she can reform his organization? Serena's hands clenched around her phone. Every word was a knife between ribs. Not because the accusations were true, but because they sounded plausible. Because she'd given the press exactly enough material to construct a narrative that was 90% accurate and 10% devastating lie. Lena found her sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the article. "Don't read the comments," Lena said immediately. "Too late." "Serena, I'm fine, just needed to see how bad it is." "It's bad, but it's also bullshit. Anyone who actually knows you knows it's bullshit. Unfortunately, most people don't actually know me. They know the version of me constructed by press coverage and federal testimony." Serena stood, legs unsteady. "I need to get to the office. First full day, can't be late." "You sure you should go in? After that threat last night?" "Especially after that threat. If I stay home, I prove I can be intimidated." Lena grabbed Serena's arm. "Please be careful. Please." "I will. I promise." It was a promise Serena wasn't sure she could keep. The Moretti Foundation headquarters was a war zone when she arrived. Press cameras outside the building entrance. Reporters shouting questions. Security struggling to keep them back. Serena pushed through with her head down, ignoring every question, feeling the camera flashes like physical blows. Inside, employees stared as she walked past, some with curiosity, some with hostility, some with pity. She made it to her new office, 18th floor, corner position, windows overlooking the city, and closed the door behind her, breathing hard. Her desk phone was already ringing. "Ms. Vale, this is Catherine Wolfe. We need to discuss the Tribune article." No comment. "It's not a request. The article suggests you may have been compensated for your grand jury testimony. We need clarification." "I was not compensated. Not with money, not with favors, not with anything. My testimony was accurate based on the information I had." "And your new position at the foundation?" "Was offered after my testimony, not before. Not as inducement. As an opportunity to fix the organization I helped expose." "Ms. Vale, you understand how this looks. I understand you're looking for easy answers and I'm not providing them. Charge me or stop calling me." Serena hung up. Her hands were shaking badly now. Someone knocked on her office door. Sarah Kim entered without waiting for permission. "We need to talk," Sarah said. "About?" "About the fact that 3 executives resigned overnight. About the fact that donors are calling threatening to pull funding. About the fact that your first day is already a catastrophe and you haven't even started implementing reforms yet." Serena met her eyes. "Good." "Good? If executives are resigning because they can't handle accountability, better to know now. If donors are threatening to pull funding because they prefer opacity to transparency, better to lose them early. And if my first day is a catastrophe, at least it's an honest one." Sarah stared at her. "You're serious?" "Completely. You realize you're destroying this organization. I'm exposing what's already destroyed. There's a difference." Serena stood. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do. Unless you're also resigning." Sarah's jaw clenched. "Not yet, but ask me again in a week." She left. Serena spent the next 4 hours in back-to-back meetings. External auditors, compliance specialists, HR consultants hired to conduct confidential employee interviews. Every conversation was hostile or skeptical or exhausting. By noon, her voice was hoarse and her head pounded. Adrian appeared in her doorway. "You need to eat." "I need to work." "You need to eat and then work. Come on." He didn't wait for argument, just turned and headed toward the executive dining room. Serena followed, too tired to fight. The dining room was empty. Adrian had clearly arranged that. They sat at a corner table. Food appeared. Sandwiches, salad, coffee. 3 executives resigned, Adrian said. I know. 4 donors called threatening to pull funding. I know that too. And the Tribune article has been shared 60,000 times on social media, most with commentary about how you're either corrupt or stupid. Aware of that as well, Serena took a bite of sandwich, barely tasted it. Are you trying to convince me to quit? I'm trying to make sure you know what you've walked into. I know exactly what I've walked into. Question is whether you're going to support me or second-guess every decision I make. Adrian was quiet for a moment. I support you. Completely. But Serena, I'm watching you burn yourself out in real time. You've been here 4 hours and you already look like you've been through a war. Because I have been. And I'll survive it. Will you? The question hung between them. Serena set down her sandwich. I don't know. But I know that backing down now means everything I've lost was for nothing. Every humiliation, every destroyed opportunity, every federal interrogation. If I walk away now, it's all just damage with no purpose. And if you stay? Maybe I fix something. Maybe I fail, but at least I tried. Adrian reached across the table, covered her hand with his. I'm terrified I'm watching you destroy yourself. I've already been destroyed. This is me rebuilding, even if the rebuilding looks like more destruction. That's not... Serena's phone rang, the Foundation's main security line. Ms. Vale, we have a situation. There's someone in the lobby demanding to see you. She's refusing to leave. Security called the police, but she says she'll wait for them if it means getting your attention. Who is it? She says her name is Vivian Pierce. Serena's blood went cold. I'll be right down. She stood immediately. Adrian followed. What are you doing? He asked. What I should have done weeks ago. They rode the elevator down 18 floors, stepped into the lobby, and there, surrounded by security guards and gathering press attention, stood Vivian Pierce. She looked immaculate. Red suit, perfect hair, smile sharp enough to cut glass. Serena, Vivian said warmly, like they were old friends. Finally, I was starting to think you'd hide upstairs forever. What do you want? To congratulate you on your new position, on your impressive ability to fail upward. Vivian's smile didn't waver. It's really quite remarkable. You expose fraud, lose everything, testify inaccurately, and somehow end up running the entire organization. Most people would call that suspicious. I call it impressive. Serena felt every eye in the lobby watching. Press cameras outside capturing everything through the glass. If you have something to say, say it. Otherwise, leave. Oh, I have plenty to say. About how you're destroying Adrian's foundation. About how you're a cautionary tale in professional ethics. About how you've been leaking stories to the press for 3 weeks? Serena's voice cut through Vivian's. About how you've been paying reporters to run hit pieces? About how you've orchestrated an entire media campaign to destroy both me and Adrian because I embarrassed you at a gala? Vivian's smile faltered. That's absurd. Is it? Because I have evidence. Emails, financial transactions, a whole paper trail of your attempts at character assassination. You're bluffing. Am I? Serena pulled out her phone, opened a folder Adrian had sent her that morning. Emails between Vivian and reporters, payment confirmations, messages coordinating story angles. Want me to start reading these aloud, or should I just forward them to every media outlet covering this story? Vivian's face had gone pale. You can't prove those are real. I don't have to prove anything. I just have to release them. Let the internet decide what's real. Serena stepped closer. You want to destroy my reputation? Fine, but I'm taking yours down with me. Every manipulation, every lie, every piece of harassment, all of it public, all of it documented, all of it traceable directly to you. Serena, you made a mistake, Vivian. You assumed I was still the person you pushed around at Harrow and Pierce, the one who took abuse quietly, the one who made herself small. Serena's voice was ice. I'm not that person anymore. And if you ever come near me, my family, or this organization again, I will bury you so completely you'll never work in this city again. Vivian looked at Adrian. You're going to let her threaten me? I'm going to let her defend herself. There's a difference. This is harassment. No, Serena said. This is consequences. Get out, now. Security moved in, flanking Vivian. She looked around the lobby, at the employees watching, at the press outside, at the cameras capturing every moment, and something in her face crumbled. "This isn't over," she said quietly. "Yes," Serena said. "It is." Security escorted Vivian out. The lobby erupted in whispered conversations. Serena stood in the center of it all, adrenaline crashing through her system, hands shaking so badly she had to clench them into fists. Adrian touched her elbow. "You okay?" "No, but I will be." They rode back upstairs. Serena made it to her office before her legs gave out, sank into her chair, head in hands, breathing like she'd run a marathon. Someone knocked. She looked up. Sarah Kim stood in the doorway. "I quit," Sarah said. Serena's heart sank. "Understood." "I quit doubting you." Sarah stepped inside, closed the door. "That thing you just did downstairs? That was the first time I've seen anyone in this organization actually stand up to a bully. And I realized you're not here to destroy us. You're here to force us to be better." "Does that mean you're staying?" "It means I'm going to help you, really help you. Because if you can face down Vivian Pierce in a lobby full of witnesses, you can probably face down the corruption that's been rotting this place from the inside." Serena felt something crack in her chest. Relief. Hope. Maybe both. "Thank you," she managed. "Don't thank me yet. The hard part's just starting." Sarah left. Serena sat alone in her office, staring out at the city, understanding with perfect clarity that she'd just crossed a point of no return. The press had video of her confronting Vivian. The federal investigators would see it as evidence of bias or manipulation. The organization's employees had watched her threaten someone with public destruction. There was no walking this back, no pretending to be diplomatic or measured. She'd declared war publicly, and now she had to win it or be destroyed in the process. Her phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. "Board meeting tonight. Emergency session. They want to discuss your conduct. Be ready." Serena stared at the message. Of course. The board would see the lobby confrontation as liability, would question her judgment, would possibly demand her resignation before she'd even finished her first day. She typed back, "What's time?" 7. Conference room. "Bring documentation for everything you've promised to implement." "Will you support me?" Long pause. Then, "Yes. But Serena, they're going to fight dirty. Be prepared." She wasn't prepared, couldn't be prepared, because the board represented old money and older power, people who'd benefited from the foundation's reputation for years and didn't want it destroyed by transparency. But she was going anyway, because backing down now meant everything. Every destroyed relationship, every federal interrogation, every sleepless night had been for nothing. Serena spent the afternoon preparing, pulled together every reform proposal, every piece of evidence of systemic corruption, every argument for why burning down the old structure was the only way to build something better. At 6:30, she walked into the conference room. 12 board members sat around the table. Old men mostly, a few women, all wearing expressions ranging from concern to open hostility. Adrian sat at the head, face unreadable. The board chair, a man in his 70s, silver hair, named Charles Whitmore, spoke first. "Ms. Vale, thank you for joining us. We've called this emergency session to discuss your conduct today, specifically your public confrontation with Ms. Vivian Pierce in the Foundation's lobby." "What about it?" Serena asked. "It was aggressive, threatening, captured on camera, and now circulating on social media. It makes the Foundation look vindictive. It makes the Foundation look like we won't tolerate harassment. There's a difference. You threaten to destroy someone's reputation. I threaten to expose documented misconduct. That's not destruction. That's accountability." Another board member, a woman in her 60s named Patricia Hale, leaned forward. "Ms. Vale, we understand you've had difficulties with Ms. Pierce in the past, but publicly threatening legal or professional retaliation reflects poorly on this organization. What reflects poorly is allowing people to orchestrate media campaigns against Foundation employees without consequences." Serena pulled out her tablet. Vivian Pierce has spent 3 weeks paying reporters to run negative stories, coordinating coverage to maximize damage, leaking confidential information from federal proceedings. All documented, all traceable, and all directed at destroying both me and Adrian because she's bitter about professional rejection. "Even if that's true," Charles said, "your response was disproportionate." My response was proportionate to 3 weeks of harassment. And if this board is more concerned about optics than protecting employees from targeted attacks, then maybe I'm working for the wrong organization. The room went silent. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Ms. Vale, we're not questioning your right to defend yourself. We're questioning whether you have the temperament for this position. Reform requires diplomacy, relationship management, the ability to navigate conflict without escalating it. Reform requires honesty, courage, and the willingness to burn down broken systems even when it's uncomfortable. Serena stood. I've spent 3 years being diplomatic, being quiet, making myself smaller so other people felt comfortable. It destroyed me. I'm not doing it again. If that disqualifies me from this position, then fire me now and save us both time. Charles looked at Adrian. What's your position? Adrian stood slowly. My position is that Serena is the only person qualified to fix this organization. Not because she's diplomatic, but because she's not. Because she'll tell hard truths nobody wants to hear, because she's already been destroyed by this foundation once and refuses to let it happen again. He looked at each board member in turn. You can fire her, but if you do, I resign. And I take every donor relationship and political connection with me. This foundation will collapse without my network, and you know it. The threat was clear. Nuclear option. Charles's jaw tightened. You destroy the foundation to protect her? I'd destroy a broken version of the foundation to build something better, with or without this board's support. The room erupted, board members arguing, voices overlapping, some demanding Adrian be removed as well, some calling for calm, some suggesting they table the discussion and reconvene later. Serena watched it all feeling strangely detached. This was power, messy, brutal. People fighting over control and legacy and the right to determine what mattered. Finally, Charles slammed his hand on the table. Enough, we'll vote. All in favor of terminating Ms. Vale's employment immediately. Raise your hand. 4 hands went up. All opposed? 6 hands. Abstaining? 2 hands. Charles looked at Serena. You have conditional support, 6 months to show meaningful progress on reforms. If you don't, we revisit this decision. Understood? Understood. And Ms. Vale, no more public confrontations, no more threatening people on camera. Handle your conflicts privately or don't handle them at all. Serena wanted to argue, wanted to tell them private conflicts were how corruption thrived. But she'd won. Barely. And pushing further would lose her the narrow margin of support she'd just secured. Understood, she said again. The meeting dissolved. Board members left in clusters, whispering. Adrian stayed behind. That was close, he said. Too close. Serena sank into a chair, exhausted beyond words. 6 months. That's not enough time to reform an entire organization. Then we'll fight for more time when we need it. Adrian sat beside her. You okay? No, but I'm still here. That's what matters. They sat in silence for several minutes. The conference room felt too large, too empty, like a battlefield after the armies had withdrawn. I need to go home, Serena finally said, before I collapse. I'll have my driver. No, I'll take the subway, normal people transportation. Serena, after today, the press, I don't care about all the press. I care about not becoming someone who needs security details and private cars just to exist. She stood on shaking legs. I'll see you tomorrow. Be careful, please. Always am. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Serena made it to the subway, rode 12 stops to her neighborhood, climbed the stairs to street level as evening darkened into night, walked 3 blocks to her apartment building. A man stepped out of the shadows beside the entrance. Serena's heart stopped. She reached for her phone. Ms. Vale, the man said. I'm Agent David Park with the FBI. I need to speak with you about your testimony and your new position at the Moretti Foundation. I've already been interrogated twice this week. This isn't an interrogation. This is a warning. Park moved closer. You're being watched. Every decision you make, every reform you implement, every conversation with Adrian Moretti. We're building a case, and you're right in the middle of it. A case for what? Conspiracy, obstruction, witness tampering. We haven't decided yet. But Ms. Vale, if you're smart, you'll resign from that position immediately. Because if we indict Adrian Moretti, everyone in his orbit goes down too, including you. Are you threatening me? I'm advising you. Walk away now while you still can, because once we move forward with charges, there's no immunity, no deals. You'll be collateral damage in a case that destroys everyone it touches. Park handed her a business card and disappeared into the night. Serena stood on the sidewalk, card in trembling hands, understanding with perfect crystalline clarity that she'd reached the point where every choice was wrong. Stay and face potential federal charges. Leave and prove everyone right about being corrupted or cowardly. Fight and risk destroying not just herself, but everyone around her. Run and become exactly what she'd spent 3 years trying to stop being: invisible, defeated, erased. She looked up at her apartment building. Lena was up there. Safety. Family. The one person who'd stood by her through everything. Serena's phone buzzed. Text from Adrian. Federal agents just left my building. They're escalating. We need to talk. And another text from a blocked number. Last warning. Resign or face consequences. This isn't about the press anymore. This is about staying alive. Serena's hands shook so badly she almost dropped the phone. Someone had escalated from anonymous calls to direct threats. Federal agents were building a case that would sweep her up as collateral. The board had given her 6 months to perform miracles. The press was documenting her every move. And Adrian was either her ally or the man whose orbit was destroying her. She still wasn't entirely sure which. She walked inside, rode the elevator up, opened her apartment door. Lena looked up from the couch, took one look at Serena's face, and crossed the room immediately. What happened? Serena showed her the texts, the FBI agent's warning, the business card. Lena read everything and went pale. We're leaving. Tonight. I'm serious. Pack a bag. We disappear. You've done enough. I can't. Serena, I can't run. Not again. Not when I'm this close. Close to what? Dying? Getting arrested? Having everything you've rebuilt destroyed again? Close to actually fixing something. Close to proving everyone wrong. Close to... Serena's voice broke. Close to mattering. Lena grabbed her shoulders. You matter. You don't have to destroy yourself to prove it. Maybe I do. Maybe that's the only way change actually happens. Someone has to be willing to burn for it. That's martyrdom, not heroism. Maybe they're the same thing. Lena pulled her into a fierce hug. I can't lose you. I won't. You won't. I promise. It was a promise Serena wasn't sure she could keep. That night, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, mind racing through scenarios and contingencies and backup plans. Federal charges. Public exposure. Violence from whoever had sent those threats. Professional destruction. Personal catastrophe. All possible. All likely. All waiting just ahead. And yet, she'd stood in the Moretti Foundation lobby and faced down Vivian Pierce, had survived an emergency board meeting, had secured conditional support for reforms that might actually make a difference, had proven she wasn't invisible anymore. The question now wasn't whether she could survive what came next. It was whether surviving mattered more than the work itself. At 3 a.m., Serena's phone lit up with a notification. Breaking news alert. She opened it with shaking hands. Federal grand jury expands Moretti investigation. New evidence suggests broader conspiracy involving current foundation leadership. The article dropped like a bomb. Federal prosecutors had uncovered additional evidence of fraud, not just the 3 executives already indicted. Broader conspiracy, more people involved, and they were looking at everyone in leadership positions, including her. Serena read the article 3 times, heart hammering harder with each pass. They were coming for her, not because she was guilty, because she was there, because she'd testified, because she'd taken the job, because her connection to Adrian made her useful as leverage or target, depending on what served the case better. She was about to be indicted for trying to fix the organization that had already destroyed her once. The irony was almost funny. Almost. Serena stood, walked to her window, looked out at the city at night. Lights and darkness, power and powerlessness. People sleeping safely while her world collapsed in real time. Her phone rang. Adrian. Did you see? She asked. Yes, my lawyers are already working on it. They're going to indict me. We don't know that. Yes, we do. I'm in a leadership position. I had access to documents. I testified favorably about you. I'm the perfect target. Serena's voice was surprisingly calm. This is it, the final disaster, the one I can't survive. Serena, I need to resign today before they file charges. Maybe that buys me some immunity. It buys you nothing. They'll see it as admission of guilt. Adrian's voice was rough. If you're going down, at least go down fighting. I've been fighting for 3 years. I'm tired. I know, but you're also close. Closer than anyone's ever gotten to actually fixing this. Don't let them take that away. They're not taking it. I'm giving it up because I'm out of options. No, you're giving up because you're scared. And you have every right to be scared. But Serena, if you walk away now, they win. Vivian wins. The corrupt executives win. Everyone who's ever tried to silence you wins. And if I stay, maybe you lose anyway. Maybe we both do. But at least we tried. Serena closed her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Yes, you can. You've survived worse. You'll survive this. You don't know that. I believe it. The call ended. Serena stood at her window as dawn broke over the city, understanding that she'd reached the moment where every path forward led through fire. Fight and face indictment. Run and prove everyone right. Surrender and become invisible again. There were no good options, only different ways to burn. She looked at her reflection in the glass. The woman staring back looked exhausted, terrified, barely holding together, but she was still standing, still breathing, still refusing to disappear. Serena took a breath and made her decision. She was going to fight, not because she could win, but because losing on her feet was better than surviving on her knees. She grabbed her phone and sent a text to Adrian. I'm not resigning. I'm going to war with the feds, with the board, with whoever else tries to stop me. And when this is over, either your foundation will be clean or we'll both be in federal prison. No middle ground. His response came immediately. Then let's make sure it's the first option. See you at the office. Serena showered, dressed, drank coffee she couldn't taste, kissed Lena goodbye without explaining where she was going or when she'd be back, walked out into the morning sunlight, knowing she might be walking into the final battle, the one where everything either changed forever or ended completely. And honestly, she wasn't sure which outcome she was hoping for anymore. She just knew she couldn't stop fighting, not when she'd finally found something worth burning for. The subway ride to Midtown felt like a descent into hell. Every face looked hostile. Every glance felt like judgment. By the time Serena reached the Moretti Foundation building, her hands were shaking and her chest felt too tight to breathe properly. Press cameras waited outside. More than yesterday. They'd multiplied overnight like predators sensing blood. She pushed through without answering questions. Made it inside. Rode the elevator up. The 18th floor was chaos. Employees clustered in hallways whispering. Phones ringing constantly. Security guards posted at executive office doors. Sarah Kim met Serena at her office entrance. Federal agents are here, Sarah said quietly. They're executing a search warrant, taking documents, computers, everything, and they're asking for you specifically. Serena's heart stopped. Where? Conference room. They've been waiting 30 minutes. Should I have a lawyer? Probably, but they're not arresting you, yet. They just want to talk. Serena walked to the conference room on legs that felt disconnected from her body. Opened the door. 3 FBI agents sat at the table. Agent Park from last night. 2 others she didn't recognize. All wearing expressions of professional neutrality that somehow felt more threatening than open hostility. Ms. Vale, Park said, please sit. We have questions about your role in this organization and your knowledge of ongoing criminal activity. Serena sat and understood with perfect, terrible clarity that the next hour would determine whether she walked out of this building free or in handcuffs. The war had begun, and she had no idea if she was strong enough to survive it. Agent Park slid a folder across the conference table. Ms. Vale, we've been reviewing communications between you and Adrian Moretti. Specifically, exchanges that occurred after your grand jury testimony, but before you accepted employment here. Serena's pulse hammered in her throat. What about them? They suggest a coordinated effort to minimize federal scrutiny, to present a unified narrative about the Foundation's operations. Park opened the folder revealing printed emails and text messages. Can you explain why Adrian Moretti sent you internal financial documents before you were employed here? He wanted transparency, wanted me to review operations independently, or he wanted to control what you saw before investigators did. The second agent, a woman with sharp eyes named Rodriguez, leaned forward. Ms. Vale, we have evidence that the documents provided to you were selectively edited, transactions removed, dates altered. You were shown a sanitized version of Foundation operations. The words hit like ice water. That's not possible. I reviewed months of records. You reviewed what he wanted you to review. Rodriguez pulled out another document. Forensic analysis shows the files were modified 3 days before being transferred to you. Whole categories of expenditures deleted. Communications between executives scrubbed. Serena's vision blurred. I don't believe you. Believe what you want. But Ms. Vale, you testified to a grand jury based on manipulated evidence.